Hey guys, Darth Glork here, back with part 4 of our Heart of the Woods playthrough. So, last time things got pretty stinking intense. So obviously I think it was episode before last that Maddie died. However, last episode, things got pretty real, continued to get even more real. We found out that Evelyn is actually a monster snake lady. And, I mean, not really a snake, but she is a monster. She has snake-like qualities, alright? So she is definitely a monster lady. She's trying to take Morgan as a host for her new body, and apparently she has been doing this a very, very long time, at a minimum of 200 years. Anyway, very long time. Maddie and Abigail tried to meet with Tara and Morgan, but they were unable to manifest themselves, and it turns out that Evelyn could see them even though they're ghosts. So that's pretty stinking spooky. In addition, Evelyn, now that she's aware of the ghosts in the forest, she went to the super secret special sacred grove, and she used Morgan's blood to destroy one of the oldest trees. So because of it, the forest is probably not feeling super bueno, and so that's, it's a problem. Anyway, so now we find ourselves in the shoes of either Tara or Morgan. I don't remember which color is which. One of them is orange and one of them is red, and I'm colorblind and I can't tell if this is orange or red because the color is so light, so it's a little hard for me to tell. I lean towards Morgan, but that's a complete guess. We will see shortly. So I would not at all be surprised if this was the finale, because according to Steam, my original playthrough took me about 8 hours, and so I figured this will be a slightly shorter episode, merely because last time I got a bad ending, and then I rapidly had to go back, and I played through using the skip feature to get to the dialogue choices, so I could make different choices to get the good ending. So, minus that little snippet of whatever time that took me, so I would not at all be surprised if this ended up being the finale. And then it would not surprise me if I played over the weekend, played something over the weekend and started something new. I don't know what our new game over the weekend will be, most likely that I will play through. I don't know what our new game's going to be, and so I will have to make that decision probably over the weekend. But regardless, let's go ahead and hop right into it. As usual, I do have my Rockstar nearby because I just survived work, and it's my reward for surviving. So I will be sipping that, which will also help my reading voice, which I no doubt will be very, very nice. And the sipping breaks is just part of that reality. Anyway, I open the front door and its weight drags me forward as I stumble inside. I prop myself up on the knob, trying to catch my breath. I can't. Tara must have heard okay, so I think we must be in Morgan's shoes then, and I think that, yeah, so I think we're still in Morgan's shoes, and I guess this is after we are running back home after what happened. Anyway, Tara must have heard the door because her footsteps come booming down the stairs. She doesn't fall. I'm surprised, given that the last 5 times she ended up slamming into the wall. I keep telling her to be careful. This time I'm glad she isn't. Yep, it is Morgan and Tara. Closing the door behind me, I finally managed to enter the kitchen as she rounds the corner. Holy shit, you're okay. I thought when you didn't come home, I'm okay. Don't worry, it wasn't anything. I can't seem to finish my sentence. My head is swimming. I stumble again, ready to collapse to the floor. Let's go upstairs. You need some rest. Come on. Her voice is warm, quiet, and reassuring. I can't believe it belongs to the same girl that spends her days yelling about the Loch Ness Monster, but it's what I need right now. Thank you, Tara. Hey, that's what I'm here for. We're the dream team, remember? She flashes me a now very familiar, wide-mouthed, goofy grin. I can tell she's trying to distract me from the fear and worry that I can see in her eyes. She's never been hard to read, but by now she's an open book. But at least she's trying. That counts. Come on, let's get up there. Break. Anyway, Tara holds my arm to steady me as we go up the stairs. I hate being like this. I'm not supposed to be weak. I can't be weak. Everyone has moments of weakness, Morgan, that's reality. I ignore the shaking in my legs and force myself to stand on my own. Even if I'm just walking to the bed to sit down, it helps. You just sit here for a minute and relax, okay? I'll go make some coffee or something. I thought you didn't even know how to make coffee. That's where the or something comes in. It takes me a second to realize that I'm laughing. Everything's gone wrong, but I'm laughing. Every time I start to lose hope, she makes me laugh. She's smiling again. It's genuine this time. I guess I'll take the risk. Thank you, Tara. I'm not good with words. I want to kiss her, to thank her genuinely. It's not the right time. I kiss her cheek instead. Tara hesitates, staring at me blankly. For once, she doesn't go crimson, and instead her eyebrows knit together into a look of worry once more. She doesn't say anything, just turns and heads for the kitchen. Maybe that was a mistake, but I don't think it was. A whirlpool of panic hits my brain the instant she leaves. It threatens to overcome me, crashing over my thoughts and pulling me deeper into its abyss. My breathing runs ragged. I close my eyes, counting to 100 as I've done so many times before, but it's not enough. The forest, Maddie, Evelyn, Tara. I try to raise my head above the water. I can't do this. After everything, with Maddie, with Evelyn, Tara can't even deal with my problems. Tara shouldn't have to deal with my problems too. And neither of us has time to deal with all the feelings I know we're not talking about. If I'm a bigger part of the picture than Maddie, I know what that's gonna lead to. I'll hold it in. I'll be fine. I shake my head. It's so much harder to lie to myself than it used to be. Those heavy footsteps save me from the mess in my head. Tara slips back into the room with 2 mugs of what I think it's supposed to be coffee. The smell of coffee always makes me feel calm, but right now it just makes me feel sick. Here we go. If the caffeine in this doesn't wake you up, then at least the taste will. As long as it doesn't kill me. No promises. I bring the mug to my lips and taste it carefully. It's not bad. Or maybe I'm just desperate. Either way, I keep drinking it. So, what happened out there? Did she hurt you? Not really. She just went on to about how we can't do anything to her. It wasn't anything serious. Bullshit. I want to tell her not to worry, but I can't. Evelyn's laughter rattles around in my head the second I open my mouth. I place the already empty mug of coffee on my desk. I hear Tara's sharp intake of breath behind me, and I spin around, my heart racing. Fear and worry reflect in her eyes as her gaze flits between my face and my hand. I look down to my own palm, still bleeding gently. It throbs now that I'm looking at it. With everything that happened, I forgot about it. Tara reaches forward and holds my hand between her own, applying a gentle pressure to it. Her concern is more than I can handle. I can't lie to her. Sorry, Tara. We already got so much to worry about. I didn't want to give you any more. I want to look out for you, Morgan. I can take it. The two of us sit silently for what feels like an eternity. Every sentence I try to form falls apart the moment I open my mouth. The screaming echoes in my head, but eventually I do it. Pause. And then I couldn't stop, and I was killing it. Tara rubs my hand, staying quiet as I continue talking. I feel my eyes stinging the more I speak, but I have to hold it together. It was burning. It was burning and dying. It was like the entire forest felt it. I couldn't stop the magic no matter what I did. And after everything was said and done, Evelyn, I feel a tightness in my chest. I've never spoken like this before to anyone, not even to Geladura. She told me my real mother was just like me. I can't bring myself to continue. Voicing the implications out loud would make them more real than they already are. My real mother is gone, and whatever similarities we bore mean nothing now. All that matters is that she lost. Shit, Morgan. The stinging's getting worse. She probably doesn't know how much we know. If she's trying to scare you, that means she's really scared of us. Her pulling weird shit in the forest isn't gonna change anything. She can't understand. How do I tell her about the screams of the forest, the black fire? The trees were... I cut myself off. What am I doing? I already told myself I wasn't gonna let this get to me, and here I am, already about to lose it. I have to keep it together. You're right. Sorry. I shouldn't have made such a big deal out of it. Hey, that's not what I meant. I want to hear what you have to say. She sits down next to me. The stinging in my eyes isn't going away, no matter how many times I try to blink it back. You know I'm not the best at, saying stuff, or knowing how to say stuff. Isn't that your job? Yeah, but do I ever look like I know what I'm doing? She holds my hand as I chuckle. You got a point. But I'm okay, I promise. It was just some cheap scare tactic. I wouldn't let something like that beat me. Like you said, this is a sign that we're on the right track. Just because everyone else before us failed doesn't mean that... Morgan. Huh? You're crying. What? No, I'm not. Inch by inch, I reach up and touch my cheek. It's wet. I can't be crying. My eyes are still stinging. I've been holding it back. It's okay. It's okay. You can cry. I told you, I'm not... My voice cuts off as I let out a choked sob. I'm not... I can't hold it back any longer. I let go. Tears flow down my face for the first time in years. Each one burns my skin like a tiny, painful reminder of how pathetic I'm being. I desperately tried to wipe the tears away, even though I know it's pointless. They just keep coming. I squeeze my eyes shut instead in hopes that I'll somehow force the tears back in. And then, once again, I feel Tara's arms around me. She squeezes me so hard that I start thinking she's trying to wring the tears out of me. Let it out. You know I got you. I let it out. I throw my arms around her and rest my head against her shoulder. All I can do is hope that the fabric muffles my sobs. She rubs my back slowly and presses her lips to my forehead. I already feel like I'm burning inside, but her warmth is different, soothing. My whole body shakes against Tara. She doesn't flinch, she doesn't say anything. She just holds me close. This isn't the girl I spent years watching yell about monsters on the internet. This isn't even the girl that stepped off the train a few weeks ago. Something about her being here changed her. As I cling, I could think of a few things. I could think of a few things that probably had something to do with it. Anyway, as I cling to her for dear life, I realize that it changed me too. I can feel my tears start to slow down when that thought crosses my mind. I'm finally able to catch my breath. Tara's grip on me loosens as I stop shaking. When she takes her lips off my forehead, I have to fight the urge to pull her back down. I pull away and sit up instead. It's nice to be able to wipe my cheeks and actually have them stay dry. Looking at her, now I can see that Tara's face is stained with tears too. It's my fault. Sorry. Hey, it's cool. I don't think anyone on Earth or anyone else would say you don't deserve a minute to get it all out there, if you say so. For what it's worth, I think you stand a way better chance than any of the people that came before you. After all, you've got one thing they don't. What's that? She breaks into another massive grin that the tear streaks on her face can't hope to tarnish. I know what she's gonna say before she even brings up the finger guns. Me, obviously. I start to chuckle before bursting into laughter. Real, full laughter. Every now and then a sob slips in. I don't mind as much anymore. As always, she knew how to make me feel better. My incredibly humble savior. Hey, if I can't stay on brand even under the threat of death, I don't deserve to be popular. I love that about you. I clamp my mouth shut the instant the words leave it. I know where that came from. Tara's expression makes it clear she doesn't either. Or she says I don't know where that came from. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. We look away from each other. I do my best to focus on anything in the room that will hold my attention. Guys, come on! Like, accept it. This is reality. It's meant to be. Just let it happen. Let it happen. It's meant to be. Come on now. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Hey, can I say something? When I look back up at her, I can see that her entire face is bright red. As much as I love to joke, I'm 100% serious about you having something they don't have. More than one thing, actually. What are you talking about? I mean, you're really brave. Like, the bravest person I've ever met. You're smart, too. A hell of a lot smarter than I am. She scrunches up her face in that cute way that she does when she's trying to figure out what to say next, which means I've seen a lot of it. You're all of the things that I act like I am. You're smart, you're brave, you're strong, you're not afraid to fight back against bullshit, you're beautiful, you're capable. You've been through a lot of bad shit all your life, and you're still fighting, even against things no one else out there believes. I stand nearly every day of my life thinking about the strangest things in the world, or spend, not stand. Thinking about the strangest things in the world, and I couldn't have imagined someone like you really existing. If I hadn't watched her ramble for years, then I'm sure that by now she'd be incomprehensible, but I hear every word, and I can feel my heart beating faster with each one. And you're really awesome, and fun to be around, and being here with you is one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and I don't want this to end, and you're in love with me. I'm in love with you! Yes, thank you, Tara! Yes! Thank you! Touchdown! We did it. Wait, did I just... We both sit in stunned silence. I try to tell myself that I don't know where that came from. Another lie. I've known for a while now, just like I know that Look, I'm really sorry. I know we agreed from the start that we wouldn't catch feelings. I swear I've never had this happen before. She's a mess. But she's a mess I'm in love with. I get if you're upset, and I'm sorry for bringing this up now while we still got other shit going on, and when this is over, I can just leave, and I won't make a big deal out of any of it. And we can just go back to living our own separate lives. No, you won't, Tara! No, you won't! I grab her cheeks and pull her face towards mine before she even realizes I've moved. I bring our lips together hard and kiss her in a way I had never had before. I don't know how to describe it. I just know it's something new. We've kissed plenty of times, but this isn't like any of those. It wasn't just a kiss I've ever had with anyone. It's healing, it's grounding, it's incredible. There you go! Hell yeah! Now we're cooking! It only takes a second before she kisses back hard. She grabs me again, and I can feel her hands moving along the length of my body. It's like she's looking for handholds. I realize in the back of my mind that this is the first time I've had a kiss this deep without anyone putting their tongue in the other one's mouth. I'd laugh if I didn't have more important things to do with my mouth. We do have to stop for a breath eventually. All we do is blow hot air into each other's faces for a split second before coming back together. This is too good to let it end so soon. One of us is crying, and it better not be me. We break to gasp for air. I love you too, obviously. Tara plants smaller kisses on my bottom lip as I speak. Yeah, I kinda figured. Saying it out loud feels incredible. It's like dropping weights I have been carrying for miles. I can feel everything Evelyn took from me back there and coming back in force. I guess I really do have you after all. Hell yeah, now we're cooking. This is great. Absolutely. Now, there is but one couple left. There's but one left, kids. But hey, this is a great start. They finally got rid of that whole let's just sleep with each other, bull crap, so that's fantastic. And they realized that they care on a deeper emotional level, and that is perfect. Finally. Quick rockstar break, but this one is a toast to victory. Ah, you taste that? That's the sweet taste of victory. Anyway, with an air of finality, we break apart but remain close. Tara presses her forehead to mine and nuzzles my nose. Her fiery eyes, a full-on grin. Her face is framed by red hair and red cheeks. Cute. I'm not gonna let her hurt you, I promise. I know. We're gonna beat this thing, Morgan. We're gonna kick Evelyn's ass and we're gonna save my best friend. And when we leave this shitty village behind for good, I want you to come with us. Yeah, of course. I'm still not able to match her level of confidence. I love her, but that doesn't magically guarantee things will be okay. I'll keep trying to get there, though. Hey, and that's all that matters, man. So what does this make us? What do you mean? Are we, like, dating, or...? She rubs the back of my neck and smiles awkwardly. I mean, it's been a while since I've done something like this, and this isn't exactly a normal dating scenario. I know what she's trying to say. We don't know what's around the corner yet. I don't know. Not that it's anything against you, of course. I love you a lot. I don't doubt that for a second. But I don't know if I can put a name on that love right now, not with everything else we're dealing with. And here I always thought fighting an ancient evil monster would be the perfect setting for asking someone out. She doesn't sound mad, that's a good sign. Maybe, if everything turns out okay, we could give it a shot, putting a name on it, I mean. She cranes her neck up towards me and kisses my cheek. Saving it for after we kick some ass, huh? I can dig it. So what does this make us? For right now, I mean. Can we just be people who love each other, stay friends, and the way we are right now, but in love? Yeah, I think I can do that. I do have one question, though. Shoot. Can we kiss more often now? That works for me. I already know she's about to kiss me, but I beat her there. My lips meet hers on the way up. Her squeak of surprise melts away as we hold each other. That's lovely. I'm still afraid, I'm still uncertain, but this helps. She helps. Thank you, Tara, for everything. Heck yeah! That's great! That's awesome! Alright, so now, cutting to Maddie now, as we check in on our favorite pair of ghosts, and we'll see what's been chilling with them. And I'm pumped! Let's do it! I gotta take a quick sip, and we'll hop right into this thing. As usual, though, after work I am all overheated. Especially because it's been freaking 70 degrees today. What's up with that? So when you actually have to work in 70 degrees, it's actually kind of toasty. After working in, 30s and 50s and stuff. Anyway, I'm just gonna roll up the old pants like I'm wading in, water or something. I mean, I'm not. I don't exactly record in, a kiddie pool. So obviously I'm not. I'm just saying, this way I can feel my distant fan on my calves. It's science, baby. Anyway, it's been a weird morning. Usually when I get up, Abigail's awake and ready to go, and usually she has been for several hours. This morning, though, I awake to find her dozing nearby, long past when she'd normally be up. She complained about having a headache, so we decided to take a walk through the forest to clear her head. Probably because she was straining herself so hard trying to manifest herself the other day, if I had to take a guess. So far, it seems to have had the opposite effect, though, and we've been walking in uncomfortable silence. It's been maybe an hour or so since we first noticed the buzzing. It's from the forest getting nuked, right, obviously. At first it was very faint, like the sound of the wind or the rustling trees, but then it started to get louder and louder. Fairies. It's the first word she said in ages. She pulls me closer to her as the buzzing gets closer. Sure enough, the source of the noise soon comes into view. Dozens of fairies, maybe even as many as 100, flutter past overhead. They form a cloud rushing through the forest, nimbly weaving over and under the branches. When I first saw fairies back in the clearing, their movements were graceful and delicate, but now they're frantic and urgent. The swarm travels right towards us, though they don't seem to notice or care about us at all. The buzzing has grown to an almost ear-splitting level, and I realize it comes from their wings. Like bees, their tiny wings beat rapidly to keep them up. They're a blur against the fairies' snowy-looking bodies. Suddenly, several of the fairies split off from the rest and dive towards us. I fling up my hands to protect myself, but they come to a halt overhead. This is my first chance to get a good look at them. They're so cute. Their bodies are smooth and pale blue with a whitish tinge. Their eyes are beady and small, looking more like tiny flecks of obsidian than anything with sight. At first, it looks like they're wearing gowns, but then I realized that what looks like clothes are part of their body. Colorful plumage helps make each fairy distinct from one another. Rather than legs, their bodies taper off into a point like little ballerinas. It's like snowflakes, no two look the same. One of them turns a somersault while the other hover anxiously. Our queen! Is that you? Have you returned? Their voices are all identical, squeaky and raspy, but yet impressively loud despite their tiny size. It takes a second for me to realize that they're addressing me. I'm sorry, I'm not your queen, I'm just an ordinary human. A human? Ordinary? Don't think so. The crowd is they crowd in a little bit closer, their fingers grabbing the empty air as if to pick me up and carry me away. I take a step backwards, with Abigail still holding tight to my arm, but the fairies just creep in even closer. Their wings beat hummingbird fast, distractingly loud. I promise, I'm just a regular person. You're mistaken if you think I'm your queen. A mistake? Have you seen her? We've been looking. We haven't seen her. We haven't seen anything like her. I have no idea what a fairy queen looks like, but I'm sure I haven't seen anything that fits the description. How long has she been missing? Hard to say. Did you know? Time is a human concept. Their answers aren't helpful at all. They at least understood my question, which means that they have some knowledge of time. It doesn't make a difference, though. The rest of their swarm has moved on, the buzzing fading once again, but they don't seem bothered. If we see her, I'll be sure to tell her you're looking. That won't be needed. She surely knows. That's why she's our queen. The fairy's peculiar way of speaking, in turn, is almost comical. Since they haven't left us alone yet, I assume they're still expecting or hoping for something. I'm a little afraid to find out what. Do you three have names? We don't. We have no need. Names are for humans too. They all nod in unison, given how everything else about them seems to be insect-like. I just assume they have a hive mind of sorts. It would fit with everything else I know about the forest. I'm getting a bit tired of all the different networks and connections. It's silly, but it feels a little like not knowing the password to a friend's Wi-Fi. To help keep them straight in my mind, I give each one a name. The one with the purple flower is, I'm assuming it's Hay, I assume. He maybe? No, Hay? I don't know, it's Hay. Anon has the blonde hair, and the last one is Frio. Wow, how did she just make up such great little fairy names so quickly? Like, up the top of her head. Also, how would she possibly remember? I already forgot all three of them. Anyway, except for Hay. I remember that one. Anyway, beside me, Abigail tugs at my sleeve. She tugs at my sleeve. She's angled away from the conversation, trying to lead me out of it. I turn back to the fairies, putting on my best customer service voice. We have to go now. It was nice to meet you. I hope you're able to find your queen soon. I don't want to turn my back on them, so I wait for them to say their farewells and leave, but instead they come in even closer, causing Abigail to gasp. Don't go. What if you stayed? You could be our queen. You would do. We could make it so. It would be easy. Alarm bells ringing in my head, I step backwards, with Abigail keeping right to me. There isn't anyone else. Not everyone is suitable, but you are. Let us show you what it's like. If we can give you a taste, would that be alright? Their buzzing and flittering slows as three pairs of eyes stare at us. Abigail squeezes my arm. I move my mouth to say no, but the way their gaze pierces me roots me to the spot. Like tiny dancers adorned with glitter, their skin shimmers in the low light flittering through the clouds. Madison, come on, let's go. But I can't, or rather don't want to. Not yet. What if they know something useful, Abigail? We know lots of things. Secret things, clever things. We can know you too. They're pests. Their buzzing is a little too loud, and their voice is a little too shrill, but you don't belong here, we can tell. But wouldn't you like to belong? They creep a little bit closer in a synchronized motion. They're close enough now that I could reach out and grab one if I wanted to, or slap them away. I don't, though. A place to belong. Could they really offer that? What exactly do you mean? I can feel Abigail's grip tighten around my coat, but she doesn't say anything. Sensing an opening, the fairies circle dizzyingly around our heads. Well, that's gotta be, like, disorienting. The forest doesn't reject you, but it doesn't accept you either. We can change that, though. Whatever it is you want. Whatever you're searching for, if you help us. Wouldn't you like that? With a jolt, I turn to face Abigail. I'm sure she knows what I'm thinking. Whatever I want, there's only one thing. Freedom. Abigail stares back at me for a moment and then presses herself against me. Looking up at the fairies, I nod. Okay, just a taste. Excited, they dive downwards until they're level with my face. Abigail cringes but doesn't let go. As one, the fairies close in, placing their hands on my face like they're checking for my temperature. Their hands are frigid, Painfully so, sorry. Painfully so. It's amplified by the fact that I haven't felt cold in days. My hands jerk upwards out of instinct, all ready to pry them away, but I don't. Then one of the fairies moves their hands to cover my lips, one covers my ears, and the other covers my eyes. For a split second, I feel like I'm falling through the air, and then it all hits me. All I see is black. I'm alone, and yet hundreds of presences flood my consciousness all at once. I can tell they're the fairies, but I don't know how I can tell. I'm bombarded by their awareness like tiny darts, not knowing words or thoughts or intentions, but just feeling. They're somehow distant, as if behind a wall, but so present. I try to find these semi-familiar presences of Hey, Frio, and Anon, but they're indistinguishable from the rest. There's no individuality, no sense of identity at all. They're just the fairies, as a whole. But I can feel what they're feeling. Panic and anger and hurt all churned together. The feeling of being lost, of not knowing where to go or what to do, but not being able to sit still. Though I can't tie it to any particular memory or event, the feeling hits me so strongly, so undiluted that I think I might cry. I can feel that they're being scared by something, but I don't know what that something is. I could tell ya! Then at last, I feel a nudge within my mind, the sensation of being noticed. The presence takes me in, welcoming me. It occurs to me that I no longer exist. I try to ask what's going on, but I don't need to. The moment the question forms, the presence with me starts to answer. Images play in my mind, ones I've never seen before. They're grainy like an old film, but I try to focus on a particular detail. The whole thing becomes reality. Or muddy. If I try to focus, it becomes muddy. I can see flames burning away at the forest. The fire is so real that I can almost feel its warmth. But when I start to focus on it, that too vanishes. The presence of the fairies weighs in my mind, an uninvited audience on to the next part. I can see a fairy stumbling alone, but something's wrong with it. I realize instantly, I can't feel its presence. Where it should be, there's just a gaping hole, so vast and profound that it hurts by sheer exclusion. It's agonizing. I want to tear my heart out of my chest so I don't have to feel it anymore. The presence of the fairies, the whole nest, tries to reach after it and to fill the hole, but it won't allow itself to be touched. The moonlight overhead, which I crave, falls onto the lone fairy who hastens to escape it. The lone fairy flees, and the rest of them, the rest of us, mourn. One word pulses through my head, both a condemnation and a reassurance. One word, though I don't know what it means. Moonsick. Moonsick, and it repeats a lot. The vision twists, and I can see a woman, but she isn't a woman. She's also a fairy, but not just. I'm so happy and relieved to see her that I know she's the fairy queen. I can feel how much she misses the lone fairy. I know, because I miss her too, desperately. I can see her searching, her hope never fading until one day she's gone. The loss is even greater this time. A sick mixture of guilt and shame plagues me, because I don't know where she is. I don't even know how long she's been missing. How could I have not noticed? The loneliness is so great that I want to do anything to erase it. Another silhouette flickers, just out of sight. But I can't keep track of it. We all have to watch it together, and then I realize, it's me. But just like the fairy queen I saw before, it's also not me. Visions of time pass, months, years, centuries, and throughout them all the loneliness is gone. It all feels right. I could fix this. The fairies remove their hands from me, and I burst back into the real world with a mighty gasp for air. Madison, are you alright? The fairies dart back up, away from the furious glare that Abigail gives them. All I can feel now is her hand clutching me, and I put my arm on her shoulder for support. My head spins, and for a second I think I might fall over. The dizzy spell passes soon. Once I'm confident I'm not going to collapse, I nod. I'm fine. How long was I out? Abigail's face flickers into a look of confusion. She presses her hand to my forehead. Out? I didn't think they'd even begun. What? She's like, I feel like I lived a lifetime in that vision. What was that? I watched the fairies, struggling to comprehend how so much could have happened in an instant like that. There's no way. We told you, didn't we? We aren't bound by time. Join us and you won't be either. Now that you've seen, and now that you've felt, will you join us? Eyes wide, Abigail looks up at me. She doesn't have to say anything for me to know she's begging me to decline. I wish you could have felt how warm it was, how nice it was to belong like that. Yet, at the same time, it feels like a distant dream now, something detached and fading. I try to remember the sensation, but I can't. It's water slipping through my fingers. It seemed so real, but it wasn't. It was only a second. I can sign my life away to the fairies for 1 second of visions, no matter how right it felt. I can't sign my life away. No matter how comfortable. I'm sure that I was just seeing what they wanted me to see. I smile at Abigail, then shake my head, rejecting the fairies. Sorry, but I can't. Thank you for showing me what it would be like, though. How can we persuade you? We need our queen soon. You could be our only hope. I know you do, but I'm sorry, that just can't be me. We hope you'll change your mind. We'll be waiting for you. We'll be waiting for a queen. Gasp. With that, they turn tail and dart off in the same direction that their swarm had gone. Soon, all trace of them is gone, like they'd never even been there. Madison, are you sure you're alright? Yeah, I'm sure. It was just a lot. Was that really that fast? Yeah, they touched your face and then a moment later you gasped. You gasped. That's insane. It felt like a long time, like years had passed. Abigail looks troubled, staring off into the forest where the fairies disappeared. Fairy magic is strange and beyond me. They're similar to the forest spirit and yet different, but in a way you can't put into words. That's right, you certainly did see a lot, didn't you? Yeah, I guess so. Have you ever met their queen, or what she even looks like? Just once, long ago. She and the forest spirit are both guardians of the forest. Did you see her in your vision? I think back to what I saw as best I can remember. The image shifts and shakes in my head, not wanting to be called to mind. More than what she looked like, I just remember how I felt, so happy and relieved to see her. I did, but I didn't get a clear look at her. I knew who she was, but I don't know if I'd recognize her if I passed her on the street. Do you think you could mistake me for her like they did? Absolutely not. You're much prettier than she is. Abigail says it very matter-of-factly, as if she didn't just give me an enormous compliment. And she carries on like it too, be still my beating heart. That's right, baby. Sorry. Back to the fairies. I expect it's hard for them to tell the difference between humans, so maybe you looked like her to them. I wonder how long the queen's been gone. It seems like they've been coping just fine without her until something happened to scare them. Something like what? Something hot and bright, something burning, something that hurt to think about. I don't know. I think it has to do with fire, maybe? So much of what I saw felt real, but most of it wasn't. Fire. Worry creases her face. What's wrong? Do you remember something? No, it was just a thought. Rather than elaborate, she fidgets with her hands. I don't push the subject. Maybe that's enough fresh air for today. We can head back to the church. Alright. I'm pretty sure I detect a hint of relief in her voice. For the first time, I lead the way home. At least I hope it's the way. I'm reasonably confident. At my side, Abigail remains quiet and lost in her thoughts. With one hand, she clings limply to my sleeve, trusting my navigation. I don't disturb her, instead concentrating on remembering the path. It's to challenge myself. I'm sure that, if necessary, Abigail would be able to lead us home from anywhere. I mean, probably. She's had 200 years to look at the forest. Still, I'm beginning to fear that I've led us astray when the grim walls of the church start to come into view. A mixture of relief and pride flows through me. It's also a little bittersweet. I've come to think of the church as home, even though I never felt that way about the cabin. Despite the fact that the concept of home is just a formality now, surrounding ourselves with walls and a roof doesn't change a whole lot. Clouds are beginning to settle overhead, muting the daylight and making everything murky. It feels fitting for the mood. Yeah, it's actually funny story though. It was actually overcast all day today. And so I kind of get that. It's been overcast all day today. Kind of windy towards the last half of the day. And it made driving kind of difficult because I drive a big old van. And my van's very tall. And so when the wind hits it, it's like a sail. So kind of hard to hold on to when you're on the interstate. But, I digress. Anyway, Abigail speeds up a bit as we reach the doors. And she's the first one inside. She sits down on one of the benches, fatigued. Mind if I join you? I gesture at the open spot beside her. Please do. They're so freaking... Oh, look at them. They're so cute. Wordlessly, she rests her head against my shoulder. Headache still? She nods. I'm afraid so. Our encounter there sure didn't help. I'm sure. They gave me a headache of sorts too. More of a notion that I can't get out of my head. The fairy's outstanding offer sits with me. As hard as I try, I can't fully push the idea away. If there isn't any other way out of this, then maybe being a fairy queen would be preferable to just being a normal ghost. As long as I can still have Abigail with me. That's a last resort, though, because for as long as I can, I have to hold out hope that things can just go back to normal, that Tara and I can leave Eisenfeld the same way we arrived, and that we can take Abigail with us. Beside me, Abigail shifts her head just a little. I'm sorry, am I bothering you like this? Not at all. I wonder if she's close enough to hear my heart beating. Maybe. Maybe it can't always be like this, but just for now, it's alright. Although it's been a couple of days since we met the fairies and they made their offer, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. The visions themselves are just slush by now, with the memories of them having eroded into non-existence, but the feelings remain, the feeling of belonging and of freedom. There's something else I can't get out of my head though, and she's sitting right beside me. You're darn right, boyo. Madison, here they come. Sure enough, a mother deer and her fawn come traipsing out of the bushes, no doubt on their way to get a drink. Starlight and the waxing moon make them look like ghosts at first, barely visible in the dusk. Upon entering the clearing, they see us and they both freeze. Abigail smiles encouragingly, reaching out a hand towards them. After a moment's hesitation, the fawn takes one tentative step towards us and then another and another. This one's name is Alma. Hello, Alma. I greet it the same way I would greet my friend's dog or cat. Deciding we're not a threat, the mother deer goes to the pond while the baby one creeps ever closer. Abigail never moves towards it, never pushing too far. Then it nuzzles her hand, leading into the soft scratching motion of her fingers. Is this the deer that you were watching you sing the other day? Most likely. Alma's a little bit shy and prefers sometimes to keep her space. You know this deer pretty well, huh? Of course, we're very good friends. To demonstrate, she strokes Alma's tawny neck. She doesn't even have to sit up to do so, since the fawn's face is just about level with her shoulders from where we're sitting on the ground. Alma closes her eyes, clearly enjoying the attention. Would you like to pet her? I'm certain she'd let you. Sure. I lean forward, my hand outstretched like Abigail was, but the second I move, Alma's eyes go wide, and she bounds away into the darkness. Her mother watches alarmed from the shoreline. Guess not. Alma, come back. I promise Madison won't hurt you. She's just as sweet as you are. I'm glad for the darkness and that she can't see me blush. While she's not looking, I scoot a little bit closer to Abigail. Just a bit. The hanging fairy baubles help to illuminate the young deer, who watches from a safe distance. None of the fairies themselves seem to be around, though. It takes a bit with Abigail and I both sitting silently, but the fawn chooses to come back after all, her steps are still reluctant and ready to dart away at any second. She lets Abigail pet her, but watches me warily while it happens. I don't mind. I'm content just to watch and enjoy seeing how happy it makes them both. How long have you known Alma? It must have been a while for you to trust her like this. Oh yes, I've known her whole life, and I've known her mother since she was small too. Abigail waves at the mother deer by the pond, who return to sating her thirst. That's amazing. I can only imagine the patience, time, and dedication it must have taken to earn the trust of the woodland creatures. Still, all things considered, I'm not surprised that they'd make an exception for someone like Abigail. She exudes comfort. I'm not sure how else to describe it, and I'm certainly never felt anything like it before. Maybe being closer to her is just as comforting for the deer as it is for me. Do you have any other animal friends that I'll get to meet? Oh, certainly, if you'd like. I'm sure Mr. Bear is asleep for the season, but perhaps once he wakes up. There's also a pack of wolves around, but for Alma's sake, that would be best left to another time. The deer nuzzles her hand in agreement, but Abigail coos contentedly at it. Not but, it's and. None are quite so friendly as Alma and the rest of the deer, though. Sorry, I gotta take a drink. I think I've swallowed something. When I was a child, I wanted to have a deer for a pet. I thought that perhaps I could learn to ride one like a horse. My sister and I would look for footprints in the snow and track them for as long as we could. She looks up at me, smiling despite the melancholy tone her voice has taken on. We never got very far, of course, hardly a few feet into the forest, but to children like us, it was quite an adventure. You must miss her a lot. Abigail hardly ever mentions her family. I imagine that despite how long it's been, their memories must still be painful. She smiles thinly. In a sense. The deer is still luxuriating under her caress. Her hand moves rhythmically and gently, alternating between petting and scratching Alma's neck. She relaxes a little, resting against my side, but continuing to pet the deer. More than anything, I think I miss the days of wonder and awe, back when the forest and all of its creatures were still a mystery. Sometimes I wish it could be like that again, that it could be unknown. You wish that you hadn't met him? No, not at all. At least not given the circumstances. I'm quite grateful for the companionship they've given me. For so many years, they've been one of the few sources of company that I've had. But while my love for them has never diminished, I've come to the conclusion that it's grown to the most it could grow as well. That's simply what the world has become for me, a small world of knowns and nothing more. She looks away from the deer and back at me. A few tears spot her face, but she doesn't look sad. In fact, she's beaming. And then I met you, Madison. Moonlight frames her face. The lovely night sky, the fairy tale friendly deer, the ethereal woman, it's an image straight out of a painting. You were my first unknown in countless years, the first soul I could speak with that I didn't yet understand. And what a wonderful unknown you turned out to be. I'm frozen again. Never had anyone say anything that sweet to me, and how am I supposed to respond to something like that? That's a great question. What do you say? I try to calm my heart as it hammers in my chest. Looking at her soft expression only serves to accelerate its rhythm. Where's the mouse? There it is. I lost the mouse, sorry. Thank you. That's really, really sweet. I think you're wonderful too. Her hand darts out to grab mine before I have a chance to react as her eyes widen even more, nearly startling the deer away. Do you really mean that, Madison? I really do. You're an incredible person. I can't imagine having to go through what you've been through without losing any sort of capacity for joy, but here you are, still so full of energy and positivity. I hope that I can maintain that sort of optimism. I mean, I get that. It'd be hard not to be cynical, right? Like, after being dealt that kind of hand, you know? Abigail lets go of the deer and flings her arms around me in a tight hug. It's a pretty awkward position because of how we're sitting together, but I don't mind. I hug her back as best I can, my only anchor in the storm of chaos that my life has become. Indignant, Alma slicks her ears back and darts off towards the trees again. She's like, "Hey! Screw you!" Without letting me go, Abigail cranes her neck to watch, this time not calling the deer back. Alma's mother bounds over to join her daughter, and they both go careening off. I lean my head down against Abigail's in what's become a familiar position. When did we get so comfortable with each other? Feels like being like this just feels natural. Now you know, the slow decay of time. She parts from me after a moment, sitting up straight again. She tilts her head up to look at the stars, and I gaze with her. The night is mostly clear, except for a few wispy clouds. All is still and quiet and calm. Even the pains of the forest don't seem to reach us here. I wouldn't call myself an optimist. That's kinda hard to believe, to be honest. I blink, surprised by her sudden words. I don't, nor have I ever really had much hope. There are still comforts and delights, but those aren't the same thing as hope. I can't remember names and faces, and even dreams and aspirations that I once had. But do you know what the most curious part of it is? She glances at me and I notice tears in her eyes. Without thinking, I reach up and brush them away. No reaction. My heart pounds in my chest, nervous about something that I can't identify, or that maybe I'm unwilling to accept, afraid to be wrong about. What is it? I can't remember how it felt for those dreams to be within reach. Even with my meager, lonely existence, there was still a chance. As unlikely as it would have been, there was always a possibility that someday something would change, something might happen. There was a light, so to speak, to look forward to, and the day that I died, that light went out. More tears, replacing the ones I wiped away, sparkle in her eyes. I move to repeat the motion from before, but this time she stops my hands, holding them in her own between us. I never gave thought to what this unlife might be keeping me from. Not from the life I left behind, but whatever it is, I would have been met with had I lived to the end of my days. For a long time, I considered myself lucky that I was free from hurt and pain and worry and loss. Even if they were predictable and boring, my years here in the forest haven't been unpleasant. But I've never been optimistic. I've never had anything to look forward to. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine meeting someone as perfect as you. Never did I imagine that I would be happy again. I understand. I know what she's saying, and more importantly, what she means. A shiver runs down my spine. But Madison, I don't deserve this happiness. Not at the cost of your own. I keep thinking how if I'd been a bit faster or more decisive, perhaps I could have saved you that day in the snow. But that even if not, why is my brain not understanding this? And that even if not, I don't know what future I've stolen from you. I don't know what awaits those of us who pass on. All I know is that this unlife and its permanence is the way that you deserve better. She's crying now, fully. Her chest heaves with a sob, and I pull her closer to me in as tight a hug as I can manage. As kindly and as delicately as I can, as gently as she has always treats me, I hold her and sway gently, as much as our position will allow. I can tell, just from the way she cries, that she's been holding this in for a long, long time. I let it all out. It must have hurt so bad to be feeling this way. I speak in a whisper. Ah! Sorry. Sorry. It's not your fault at all. Don't ever blame yourself for any of this. I know I don't. Ever since we met that day in the forest clearing, all you've done is make things better for me. I don't know if I ever told you this, but during those first days after we met, seeing you again was all that I would look forward to. I'd go to bed thinking about you, and I'd wake up the next morning thinking about you. And as for everything else, to be honest, I don't know how to feel about a lot of it. So much of it is just so hard to process. I thought it would be easier with time, but it hasn't. But there is one thing I know. One thing that I'm absolutely sure of. I squeeze her hands and see her startle just a bit. No matter what I'm missing out on, I'm sure I'd rather be here with you. I mean it, every word of it. I've never really put too much thought into an afterlife or anything like that, but any time spent here with Abigail is time well spent. And if that means eternity, well then, so be it. Oh, my heart, dude! My heart! I can't deal with this! The feels are too beautiful! It's too beautiful! I need a sip, I gotta collect myself. I tried so hard to read that with a straight voice, just not trying to grin like an idiot the entire time. I'm just fanboying quietly in my chair. Alright, sorry, I need a second. Wow, that was so adorable. That was so sweet. My heart, I can't take it. I can't even right now, fam. I can't even. Okay, sorry. Oh man, sorry, I was just spiraling. I was just spiraling silently in my seat, trying so hard to read it. It's like, seriously, without grinning or laughing partway through. Oh my goodness, my heart. That was so adorable. I love that. I love this. Alright, sorry. Beside me, Abigail gazes into my eyes wondrously. Her lips move as she searches for the word she wants to say. Madison. She shifts so that the starlight caresses her face, perfect and yet not nearly as luminous as she is. May I kiss you? For once in my life, I don't overthink it. Yes. Her eyelids flutter and close. Her breathing trembles then steadies. I empty my head of any other thoughts. Hell yeah! And I press my lips to hers, so soft and so warm, as delicate as the fresh fallen snow, as sweet as cotton candy. Her form shivers against me, and I place an arm around her for support and for comfort, mutually. I can feel her getting more confident and more relaxed, as 200 years of loneliness are melted away one by one, and we're left as just two souls sharing a first kiss under the night sky. It feels so right, after what we've been through, so much sadness and loss, that we're now able to share this moment of joy, not just share it, but to be able to offer it to each other. It's our light at the end of the tunnel. Hell yeah! That's awesome! That's more than anyone could ask for. I'm a blessed soul. I'm so happy. The feels are so good. It's so beautiful. Alright, sorry. When we finally part, my lips still feel electrified. She regards me with a coy expression, but a happy one. That was even more wonderful than the many times I'd imagined it. I hope it was worth the wait. I'd wait another 200 years if it was the only way I'd get to kiss you again. I promise you won't have to. To prove it, I lean forward and give her another quick peck on the lips. Hell yeah. My favorite couple ever! Abigail leans against my side yet again. We've done this several times before, but it never felt like this. It never felt this right. Everything feels a little bit brighter now. That was awesome! That was everything I ever wanted out of life. Our next day passes blissfully. We wander the forest, seeing all our favorite spots. The comfort of our new relationship makes the time we spend together even more joyful. Everything is prettier while I'm seeing it with Abigail beside me. Hell yeah. Of course, as has become our tradition, we end up back at the mystical fairy grove. We settle into our favorite spots by the shore with the perfect view of the pond. As much as I love films, I've never been a big fan of romantic scenes. They always feel so forced, the soaring music, the obvious atmosphere, the cheesy dialogue. They're so divorced from real life that I can't take them seriously. But here I am, watching the sunlight reflect off the shimmering water of the lake as the woman I love leans against me. And I think that maybe those scenes weren't so unrealistic after all. Madison? What is it, sweetheart? Sweetheart? I don't use pet names, it's not like me at all. But with her, I feel like it fits. I agree, it does fit. I know that I've said this before, and will probably say it many times in the future, but today and yesterday have been the happiest of my life. Some of the happiest of my life. Mine too, and it's okay, I'll never get tired of hearing you say that. She smiles at me as soft as ever, but hidden in her expression and in her tone of voice, I can detect a tinge of sadness. I touch her face, running my thumb across her cheek. She closes her eyes and leans into the motion. Are you feeling okay? Of course, why wouldn't I be? I don't know, you just looked a bit sad. Maybe it was my imagination. I half expect her to deny it, but instead she nods. You do know how to read me, don't you? I do. What's wrong? You can tell me anything, I promise. Only if you want to talk about it, of course. She pushes closer to me in response, resting her head against my chest. This day is so lovely, I don't want to say anything that could spoil it. You don't have to worry about that, Abigail. I love you, and that means I want to be here for you no matter what. We're gonna have plenty of wonderful evenings, I promise, and being open with each other is the best way to make sure they stay wonderful. This is unlike me too. Usually on the first day of a relationship, I'm still a bumbling bag of nerves. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I move too fast or too slow? But it's different with Abigail. The fear isn't there. I can't quite explain why. I just feel like I don't have to worry with her. I was thinking about other happy days that I've had, and how long it's been since then, and how the memories have since soured. Where the heck is the mouse? There it is. It's all white on light colors, and it's really hard for my poor eyes. Especially because I changed my default mouse to black, and I made it huge. So it's very easy to see. Because it's always a problem I have of losing track of the mouse. Anyway. Right. Okay, how much have I told you about my sister? Not much. You mentioned that the two of you were close, and that you spent a lot of time in the woods together, but that's it. We weren't just close. Helena with a stutter. That's kind of hard. Helena. See how I can't even say it quickly. Helena and I were inseparable. Whenever anything went wrong, she would always be there to protect me. She swore that she would never change. But Fate had other plans for the two of us. She trails off. Every other time she's mentioned her sister, it's only in passing. Her story last night about tracking deer is the only solid detail I have about her. At first, I expect her to stay quiet like before, but instead she keeps talking. For as long as it's existed, Eisenfeld has had a curse, you could call it. A terrible monster would destroy the village if given the chance. Who would destroy the village if given the chance? To appease its terrible rage, we would offer sacrifice to it. Every generation, a new offering would be chosen, but it didn't just want flesh. The head priest would take the sacrifice into the forest to be offered to the horrible spirit. The sacrifice's soul and the head priest's body would both be consumed. Yikes. Then the new head priest would emerge, having taken the form of the poor sacrifice victim. It was a painful reminder of those we had lost. Yikes. Then we found out that it was a member of my family who was to be taken and given over. I wasn't shocked. There was only one thing that I cared about, that it wouldn't be my beloved Helena who was harmed. Her voice wavers before she falls silent. Before I could tell her that she said enough, she speaks again. Each word shakes as it leaves her mouth. I couldn't forget the joyous days of our childhood. I couldn't let such a kind soul offer such a horrible fate. So, when the time came, I offered myself. I volunteered to die so that Helena could live. And in that very moment, where our fates were sealed, I looked at them, at Helena, and do you know what I saw? Captivated by her tragic story, I can't even answer. I don't move my head or my lips. Relief. Not once did she try and stop me or change my mind. Not that I would have let her, but I don't think she even thanked me. My parents cried, of course, but they didn't argue either. Neither of them stepped forward to take my place. No one did. While I'm sure my sacrifice was appreciated, I was quickly discarded, even without a token effort or gesture of appreciation. That is freaking horrible. That is so horrible. You jump like, don't worry guys, I'll take the bullet, and everyone's like, oh, please do. I would much rather you died instead of me. Like, that's horrible. Oh, poor Abigail, I love her even more. My sister, who had sworn to always protect me, had no difficulty accepting the fact that I would die for her. That's freaking awful. What, she just gave you away? Just like that? If death looms over you for long enough, it corrupts everything, even love. It didn't corrupt you. Perhaps, though I believe that that's why I'm still here today. What do you mean? The first step of the ritual involves separating the sacrifice's body from its soul. You had to die, basically. From what she told me, as she did it, those poor victims usually try to resist, begging for someone else to be taken, and when their souls are ripped away, they're too damaged to carry on. Yikes. But I didn't resist. I went peacefully, and so the gentle forest spirit who had been raised to believe that some kind of demon eventually came and took me away, and I've been here ever since. Her words carry a sense of finality, not knowing what else to do, and still stunned by her story, I simply lean closer to her and pull her, I'm assuming is what that's supposed to be, into an embrace. Freaking yikes, dude. There aren't any words that could be enough. Physical comfort is all I can offer. To my surprise, though, when she finally pulls away from me, she looks happier than before. Just like I did earlier, she touches my cheek gently and then leans in for a kiss. Thank you for listening. I've told the one person that matters, and now I think I can heal. I know, sweetheart, I love you, more than anything. I love you too, more than anything. Wow, that's horrible. That she's like poor Abigail though. That's horrible. That's awful. She sighs contentedly and leans against my shoulder. She takes my hand, intertwines her fingers with mine. We sit there for a long time. We don't say anything. We don't even move. All we do is watch the sky and feel each other's heartbeats. Freaking yikes, dude. That's the worst thing I ever heard. Just no loyalty. And for me, loyalty is like my number one most valued, attribute is loyalty. Nothing matters more to me than loyalty. So disloyalty is something, as you might imagine, I hate the very, very most. You know, pretty brutal. Anyway. I wake up with a headache, and I know that something's wrong. I'm alone. Abigail must have disentangled. Must have disentangled herself from my arms at some point, leaving me on my own. I get up and pace around the church, not seeing her. After a bit, I find her outside its doors. Good morning. Good morning, my love. Her lips smile, but her eyes don't. It's a look I'm pretty familiar with by now. I slip an arm around her as I take a spot by her side. Sleep okay? Well enough. I'm sure all my nights will be better now that they're spent beside you. I can't help it. I kiss her on the cheek, and true joy brightens her face. How about you? Pretty good. Woke up with, a bad feeling, though. Bad feeling? About what? I'm not sure. My head kinda hurts, so maybe that's it. Actually, now that I think about it, this is the first actual pain I've felt since turning. It's not the worst headache I've ever had, not by far, but it's enough to be annoying. It feels the same as being dehydrated or having a slight cold. Oh, poor dear. She stands on her tiptoes to kiss my forehead. I felt the same, actually. I had hoped that stepping outside might help, but it seems not. She rubs her temples, and I notice just how ragged her eyes look. How long have you been out here? A while, perhaps an hour or so. I was afraid I'd wake you. No, I slept right through. It was just a coincidence that we both feel sick, is it? Abigail purses her lips. Her brief silence is enough confirmation. No, I doubt it is. Must be something to do with the forest. The trees before us sway in the breeze. To me, they look the same as ever. No traces of lingering sickness or pain. You felt bad the other day, too, when we met the fairies. Was it the same thing then? Most likely. Changes in the air. Something's happening, and it's not good. I think of the fairies fleeing some unseen terror. Is it Evelyn? I half expect her to shake her head. I want her to say no, but she nods. I think so. I don't know what she's done or why, but this can't all be a coincidence. I nod, my thoughts turning to Tara and Morgan. I wish they would just get out of here, leave me to my fate and escape. Let Evelyn do whatever it is she's doing while they're across the ocean, safe. I know that won't happen though. Tara's not the type to back down from a fight. Except this time, I know she's hugely outmatched, even with Morgan's help. I keep almost saying Morgan from Dragon Age, but it's not Morgan, it's Morgan. Morgan and Morgan and Morgan. Sorry, that's like that stupid commercial. Sorry, I gotta take a drink. What about the forest spirit? You said it's a guardian of the woods, right? Why doesn't it stop her? I'm sure it's doing what it can, but it's just as intimately connected to the forest as the fairies are. Far more than you or I. So as the forest itself weakens, so does it. Worry creases her brow. Is there any way we can help? Not that I know of. I can tell she's not really happy with that answer. Maybe we can think of something together. There has to be something we can do. Yes, perhaps. She looks up at me adoringly. I feel like I could accomplish anything with you by my side. Her loving words are nearly enough to counteract the worry that I feel. We've already beaten death. There's no way Evelyn can stop us, at least not a second time. First, we just have to figure out how. Abigail slips her hand into mine where it fits comfortably. Perhaps you'll make an optimist out of me yet, Madison. Shall we go for a walk? Absolutely. I'm glad that our changing relationship hasn't changed our routine. The walks around the forest keep me grounded. They're enjoyable, but also a solemn reminder of how trapped we are here. The dream of finding a way out hasn't disappeared or diminished at all. It's just evolved to include Abigail too. There's no way I'm leaving these woods without her. We chat idly as we stroll, enjoying the newfound comfort and intimacy that comes with being lovers, rather than just friends. The pain in my head is still there, and I'm sure Abigail still suffers from hers as well, but it's easy enough to ignore in lieu of the pleasure that simply being together brings. We've reached the edge of the fairy clearing where we always seem to end up. Abigail is glued to my side. I wouldn't have it any other way. We're probably a little bit bit early to meet Alma, though she sometimes comes by at this time. This grove is one of the earlier places for the animals to come drinking during winter, so it attracts all kinds of wildlife. It's easier, not earlier. Sorry. Yeah, I've noticed all kinds of tracks in the snow leading around here. She nods, pleased. But then we enter the grove itself, and my blood runs cold. Just ahead, lying prone on the frozen ground, is a fawn that I just know is Alma. It's clearly dying, if not already dead. With a shriek, Abigail drops my hand. No! I feel her anguish cut through me like a knife, visceral and burning. Dashing over, hands outstretched, she falls to her knees and presses a tender hand against its snout. A small motion confirms that it's alive, if just barely. It leans into her, either in fear or in recognition, eyes wide. No. What's happened to you? I move closer as well, though not as close as to crowd them, and what I witness makes my stomach turn. Gaping wounds perforate the poor thing's body, staining the ground red with blood. They look like knife wounds or bite marks, but there's no visible damage or puncture. It's more like its body simply opened up. Abigail flails her hands, clearly wanting to help, but afraid to touch it and cause it more pain. She turns to me, teary-eyed. Madison, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I kneel down beside Abigail. The lacerations covering Alma's body are clean and even, but varying in size. Some are minute, so small as to be nearly invisible. The largest is a gash that runs the length of her torso. How does this even happen? Through choking sobs, Abigail manages to answer. Magic. These are not normal injuries. It's the forest. The forest is sicker than I thought, and all of its children are hurting for it too. So we get headaches while Alma gets this. I shudder. Is it random? Could it just as easily been one of us lying here bleeding out? Maybe our ghostliness is more of a blessing than I thought in this case, though without it we wouldn't be affected by the forest illness at all. Leaning over, I gently stroke the deer's head. Its breathing is restless and agonized, but it seems to register my presence. My thumb caresses against a wound that I didn't notice, and I jerk my hand back while Alma groans in pain. I'm sorry. The deer's blood is vicious, unnaturally so. I don't think that's how that's supposed to be. I don't think it's vicious. I think it's... I don't know. It's something or other. That deer's blood is something. Unnaturally so and slick like motor oil. It sticks to my fingers, stretching and webbing. It's neither warm nor cold. It's unnervingly neutral. I try to rub it off in the snow, but my fingers pass through the ice and dirt, of course. My hand trembles with the disgusting feeling that I'll never be clean again. Abigail is still beside herself, wringing her hands impotently. There's nothing that either of us can do. We'll just sit there and wait as Alma passes away in agony. But then, a tremor reverberates through the clearing. The ground shakes and snow is rattled from the branches. Fairy baubles dance up and down. Abigail and I face the forest in the direction of the sound, already knowing what's coming. The forest spirit strides into view, as tall as the trees but no taller. It brushes past trees with no notice of the branches and snow that it disturbs. As it draws into the clearing, it acknowledges us with a level gaze. It's been a while since Abigail and I have been by to see it. The deer looks up at the forest spirit with pained recognition, its eyes wide and breathing shallow with pathetic relief. Abigail looks up at it too, tearfully, clearly glad to see it. The spirit looms closer, its great presence alone seeming to revitalize the air around us. My headache vanishes in an instant. The spirit stretches one immense finger, drawing from head to tail across the deer's mangled body. The two lock eyes, and as the spirit retracts its hand, it curls the finger inward, calling Alma to it. In one motion, the deer's eyes roll backwards as life exits its body. At the same time, its spectral form, I would say ethereal and perfect, rises from its corpse. I know that's not how that's supposed to be. It's ephemeral or whatever. Anyway, rises from its corpse. Boundless as in life, it gives us one last glance, then springs from across the fallen snow before vanishing into thin air, gone to join some spectral herd somewhere. Abby wipes her eyes of tears and stands. She moves to the spirit's side and gently pats it. Thank you. I'm glad you came. The spirit's shoulders sag, its branches hanging low and still despite the slight breeze. I notice what look like burn marks on its hide, where part of its wooden skin is blackened and dark. Without a doubt, it's Evelyn's doing as well. I'm reminded of an old man putting a child to rest. Sorrow and surely pain as well weigh heavily on it. I wonder how it knew to come. Did it feel Alma's pain, or perhaps Abigail's? Bearing the emotional weight of an entire ecosystem, my heart aches for the spirit, as well as for Abigail, who seemed forever hurt by her powerlessness. The spirit and I meet eyes again, and I bow my head in reverence. I don't know it well enough to speak to it like Abigail, but for Alma's sake, I'm also glad it was here. It stoops down to pick up the deer's corpse. Blood now runs freely from the injuries, somehow not clotting, and I have to look away. Without a second thought for us, the spirit turns and leaves once more, going back the way it came. Abigail and I watch it go. In all, the encounter couldn't have lasted more than a minute or two. Long after the last of its footfalls have faded away, Abigail and I sit in silence. Yeah, freaking yikes, dude, that's not good. I hold her close until finally we return to the church. The rest of the day passes quietly, the earlier euphoria of our relationship being overshadowed by fear of the shifting forest. Though Abigail is never more than an arm's reach away from me, and usually closer, she's nearly silent. Our headaches returned not long after leaving the fairy clearing, stronger than before. Now, some combination of pain and sorrow keeps us both quiet. At some point, I reach for her hand out of habit, and that's when it happens. My hand passes right through hers as if she isn't even there. Abigail! I say the first thing that comes to mind. With a fright, she leaps up, searching around for the source of my panic, though she doesn't even feel it. Look. I reach for her hand, and once again, it passes right through, just like when we first met, before we could even speak with each other. She understands instantly. Oh no. What's happening? Are you okay? You feel any different? I don't know enough about magic to even start to guess why this is happening to her. Should we take you to the forest spirit, or get you some rest, or... Madison, it's not me. What? It's you. I look down at myself. Sure enough, my whole body is slightly transparent. I can see the floor of the church through myself. Vertigo hits me and I stumble. Abigail lurches forward to catch me, but of course she isn't able to. Dread fills my heart. Please, no, not again. What do I do? I slap my hand, a pathetically ridiculous action. I can't even feel it. My own hand goes right through me. Shaky, Abigail stands up, holding her head. Something's happening to the forest. This must all be connected somehow. It's simply impossible otherwise. What could Evelyn be doing? I know that she has to be involved. I don't even have to ask. I have no idea, nor do I know why she's choosing now of all times to do it. Do you think the forest spirit, can help us? The forest spirit is all I can think of, the only ally we have. At least it's a powerful one. Abigail looks away. I'm sure the spirit was her first thought too. Perhaps. We can try. It's not good, dude. Wordlessly, she heads out of the church and I follow behind her. The happiness and joy that we shared so recently has evaporated entirely. I wish that life, whatever form it takes for us, could just slow down, that we could have more than a moment to rest. But I know that that's impossible while Evelyn is still out there, and I know that one way or another we're gonna have to be the ones to stop. We're gonna have to be the ones to deal with her. But what I don't know is if we even have a chance. Yeah, stay with it. Stay with it, Maddie. Stay with it. You gotta stay alive, or you gotta, stay unalive or whatever. You gotta be with Abigail. The relationship is so tender. It must survive. Do you know what's going on? Has something like this happened to you before? It hasn't. This is the first time I've seen it, but I think I know. I think that the forest is having trouble keeping you here. The magic is getting weaker too. So does that mean that I leave the implication unspoken? Abigail halts in her tracks, facing me with a fiery determination. No, I won't let anything bad happen to you. Not again. I promise, Madison. I don't know if she has the power to keep that promise, but I can only hope so. Okay, I trust you. I really do. Believing in Abigail is my only option, but even if it wasn't, it's like she said, together we can get through anything. I try not to think of what it would mean if I'm wrong. I'm not even totally sure myself. Would I just cease to exist? Go on to the afterlife? Something else? None of the options are especially appealing, and I know that dwelling on them will only make me feel worse. So I just focus on the here and now and on sticking close to Abigail. Even if I can tell that she's right when she says the whole forest is affected. Aside from the harsh winds, everything else feels subdued somehow. The trees don't seem to stand as tall, and the leaves and needles look dull, even by wintry standards. What little sunlight there is feels dreary rather than bright. A light snow falls from the sky, and the heavy clouds overhead promise more, and soon. It's not good, man. It occurs to me that we've only been walking longer than we normally have to. Instead of changing the forest path to get us there quickly, we're following the regular route through the trees. Hey, why are we taking the shortcut through the forest? Is it too sick to let us do that? Wringing her hands, Abigail looks away. I'm more than afraid to try. If I push myself too hard, then she leaves the consequences unspoken. I can imagine what they might be. The same as what's happening to me, or worse. Whatever exactly that is. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It's okay. Take as much time as you need. It's been so long since I visited the spirit. Our brief moment in the grove when Alma was the first time in days. I wonder if it's missed me. Of course it has. Who wouldn't? You're far too sweet, Madison. She nuzzles her head against me. The angle's a little awkward since we're still walking, but it's nice. But then she jerks away like she was stung. Oh, you're back! Back? Her hand envelops mine, smooth and soft like always, rather than passing through me. Oh. Just because she can, she leans forward and gives me a quick peck on the lips. I was so worried. Me too. I rub my arms and sides, making sure that I'm all there. Everything seems to be in order. Hopefully it's permanent. Indeed, it's not too much farther to the spirit, though, either. We should hurry. Sweat makes her brow glisten a little. She's definitely still feeling strained, even though I can tell she's trying to hide it. Don't push yourself too hard, sweetie. I won't. Yeah, stay alive, Abigail! Still, despite her words, the longer we walk, the more visible a toll it seems to take on her. Her steps slow down even though she wanted to hurry, and her breathing sounds labored. Are you sure you're alright? I'm fine, it's just... Rubbing her eyes, she shakes her head. Right then, a pile of snow hits the ground a few feet away from us. Looking up, I spot a tree drooping, its boughs angled down as if bent. It's the forest again, not me alone. She voices what I already knew. Something terrible must have happened for it to be this way. Since I'm unable to feel the forest like she can, all I can do is watch and worry. Just now, or at least today? Maybe. Or we may only now be feeling the effects, I'm not sure. I can tell by the frustration in her voice that she's nearly as in the dark about all this as I am. I have to remind myself that what she knows she only picked up by intuition and years of observation. I'm fortunate to have a guide as knowledgeable as she is about our situation, even if she doesn't know everything. I know when we're getting close to the grove of ancestral trees from the change in the air and the way that the trees are larger than before. That profound sense of being watched and of primal energy is still present, but even that feels mellower. Or maybe strained. Through everything, there's also the acrid smell of smoke. Suddenly, Abigail lets out a yelp of horror and dashes forward. Abigail! I follow right on her heels. Oh no. It doesn't take long to discover what she found. Freaking yikes, dude. Where there was once a mighty tree, all that remains is a blistered and charred husk, blackened by flame. A painful buzzing permeates my head, nearly unbearable, and all I can do is watch in horror as a foreign sorrow emanates. Even I can tell that the forest is crying out. Here is the locus of its pain. Even I'm affected. I can't imagine how Abigail must feel. Her fingers run through the damaged wood as if searching for a sign of life. I have to remember that this isn't just another part of the forest, this is its heart, its very soul. And for so long, it was also her home. How? How did I not know? I've been so happy these few days that I must have blinded myself to the pain of the forest. From behind, I wrap my arms around her, pressing my face against her shoulder. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, though. Even if you knew, you couldn't have changed it. If anything, we were lucky to have those few days. She clings to me, pinioning her arms into an even tighter embrace. As I feel her cry against me, my own uselessness feels like more of a curse than death ever was. I wish there was some magic word or spell that I could use to make things better. But all I can do is hug her tightly and warmly, and hope that I'm as much of a reassurance for her as she is for me. Then, without warning, I once again see my arms go transparent, and the feeling of Abigail against me disappears. Although this time it's not as big as a shock, it's still a reminder that we don't have long to wait. Abigail notices and steadies herself alone. Let's keep going, the spirit must be around here too. Why doesn't it stop Evelyn? Isn't that its job as guardian? It probably can't, I'm sure it wants to, but it relies on the forest for strength, and so if the forest is weak, then it must be too. In fact, that may be Evelyn's intention. The sinking feeling in my stomach intensifies. If she's even stronger than the forest spirit, what hope do we have? I don't voice that fear, though. I'm sure Abigail is already worried about the same thing. It isn't much longer before we encounter the spirit. At first, we almost miss it. The forest spirit stands idle in the clearing, as if lost in thought. It barely seems to notice us as we approach. The slight tilt of its head is the only acknowledgement we get. It's small, smaller than I've ever seen it before. It's barely as tall as I am. The lights in its eyes, usually bright and terrifying, have gone dim. It looks even more like a wounded deer from the clearing than the being who helped it pass on. Just like the trees it protects, its branches sag and are bare. A few have jagged ends and as if something snapped them off. None of the wildlife that usually accompany it is around. Instead, it seems alone and abandoned. Though it hasn't been long since we saw it last, it looks significantly pained. I wonder if its salvation of Alma was taxing on it. Abigail cries out again, just like when we came across the burnt tree. As anguished as she sounded then, and this time it's even worse. I hang back as she runs to its side, not wanting to intrude on a private moment. She places a hand on its leg, crooning something that I can't make out. Though the spirit tilts its head a little bit more to face her, the motion is stilted and janky. Sorry, I was getting notifications and I was making sure there was nothing important. Newsflash, it wasn't. As exhausted and sick as Abigail seems, the forest spirit seems to have it 10 times worse. It makes a mournful sound, a deep and something hum. It seems to echo and reverberate off the trees around us. Though I can't understand it like Abigail can, the pain and suffering in its tone is obvious. Abigail presses a cheek against it, patting the creature gently, the same way she sometimes comforts me. I look down at myself, shimmery and transparent, and I'm pretty sure we won't be getting any assistance from the spirit. A wave of nausea hits me as I ponder just what that means. I don't have any backup plans. If Abigail does, she didn't mention them. Is my only choice to just stay like this, hope my condition doesn't get any worse? Ever since I came to the forest, I felt like I haven't had any control over my own fate, and I can't help but worry that this will be the final nail in the coffin, perhaps literally. I fidget, adjusting my scarf and hood and glasses countless times. Abigail remains close to the spirit, pacing slow circles around it as she talks to it softly. I wonder what she's saying. Sometimes the spirit will hum or make a gesture that could be a nod, all the while I keep my respectful distance. At some point, I realize it's snowing. I don't know how long it's been going on. As some of the snow settles on the spirit's broad shoulders, it doesn't look festive and pretty, it just looks pitiful. The spirit sags, bearing the weight of the world. As I'm not sure how long I wait, but I don't rush Abigail at all. This could be the last opportunity she has to speak with the forest spirit, judging by its condition. I'm sure she's thinking the same thing. I flip between solid and intangible so many times that I stop keeping track. I just watch the two of them. Finally, Abigail pulls herself away from the spirit. She approaches me, looking like she wants to say something but doesn't. Her eyes say it all, though. I try to hug her, but she softly shakes her head, and instead escorts me away back into the woods. Though she never looks back, I do, but just once. The spirit's lonely eyes watch us go. What a, like, man, the feels, though. The feels, though, little tear. Alright, there's the Rockstar, too. How final. Anyway. Heavy snow batters us while we walk, though of course its chill doesn't reach us, our visibility is effectively zero. Too weak to even alter the path of the forest, Abigail clings to my side, trusting me to lead us back to the church. Although I maintain a brave face, I'm not fully confident in my ability to get us there. This isn't good, dude. The blizzard calls to mind memories of the day I died, although I don't let myself dwell on them. I'm not alone this time, and I have someone more to live for. It's not good, dude. It's all hitting the fan. Our journey is strenuous. We move at a glacial pace, but it's the fastest that Abigail can manage. Her steps are heavy and slow, and as much as I want to urge her along, I know that I can't. I'm glad that she's watching the ground and her feet rather than me, so that she doesn't have to see the worry on my face. Every time I start to think that I've got this whole ghost thing figured out, something new arises to complicate it all over again. And this time, I don't even have Abigail's experience to guide me. What happens if she loses the ability to walk altogether, or to speak? What happens if the magic that keeps me here runs out? The occasional flickering of my body makes that a very real concern right now. I hold tightly to her hand, the only anchor of comfort and security right now, but even that has grown clammy and cold. Swallowing a lump in my throat, we march on. Trees bow in the wind, trying to turn their backs against it. For the first time that I can remember, there aren't any woodland creatures out and about. No mice and rabbits, no chirping birds, not even a panicked deer phasing in and out of existence like me. It may as well just be me and her and no one else in the universe. Come on, I'm sure we're almost there. It can't be much farther. I say the words for my own sake as much as for hers, though in truth I have no idea if I'm right or not. For all I know, we could be heading in the totally opposite direction of the church. Even then, since once we arrive at the church, I'm not sure what to do. Will she get better with time to rest? Will I? Right now, the church is just a goal. It gives us something tangible to work towards, something to keep our feet moving, slowly or not. I'm sure you're right. Her voice is barely a murmur. I can only hope that she's saving her energy on purpose. I'm afraid to ask. I wonder how much of what's happening is by the mayor's design. While everything stems from her, it's impossible to know how much was deliberate and how much was simply a ripple effect from what she's done. I wonder if she even considers us a threat or gives us any thought at all. If she doesn't, then maybe we can use that against her. Of course, first we have to reach a point where we are able to do that. During a momentary lapse in the blizzard, I'm able to make out a welcome sight in the haze, a warped and curled tree that I distinctly remember from an earlier trip. Look, you recognize that tree too, right? I'm pretty sure you were the one who showed it to me the first time. We're almost home. Abigail nods weakly, though she doesn't say anything. I squeeze her hand, trying to impart some strength into her. It kills me to see her like this, and I'd give anything to be able to help her. Almost there, you've got this. She nods again, unable to do or say more, except she doesn't stop nodding like a bobblehead. I tug her along, trying to lead her the rest of the short way, but she's rooted to the spot. Listen. And then she collapses. And the world goes black, I think is what it said. I didn't click that time, it went on its own. I jolt, and what she said is the world goes black, I think is what that second slide was, but I didn't click that time, it just went on its own, I swear. Anyway, I jolt and choke on nothing as I gasp for a breath that I don't actually need. Abigail's fallen to her knees. I didn't even feel her her hand slip out of mine. I try and take the half step, cross the few centimeters that separate us, but a moment later, it's black. That's why it jumps to this and it's black screen on its own from the last one. That's why. And I get why it's signifying that she's blacking out, but because of it, when I click for normal movement, it does this. That's why. So I figured out the reason behind all that. So that's terrible. They're blacking out. Like, they're blacking out. And it takes me a moment to understand, and I immediately wish that I hadn't. Oh my god, I just stopped existing for a second. Profound dread grips my heart. Looking down at myself, once again, I can see right through my hand and arm to the snow accumulating beneath us. Not good. This is extremely not good. I collapse to the ground beside Abigail, but at least of my own accord. I try to shake her by the shoulder, but it takes several tries before I can maintain a form long enough to even touch her. I'm sorry, Madison, I just need a little break. With visible effort, she turns to look at me. I don't think she even realizes what's happening. But then I phase into non-existence for another moment, and when I come back, horror is clearly etched onto her face. Finding some hidden reserve of strength, she lunges towards me and grabs my hand. Immediately, everything goes back to normal. Madison, are you okay? Can you hear me? I'm fine now. I hold her hands a bit tighter to reaffirm it. Are you okay, though? I'm just a little tired is all. She forces herself up again, looking more than a little tired. Immediately she sways and nearly falls, but I catch her and steady her. She leans into me and I pull her into a hug. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Shh, it's okay. Gently, I stroke her hair. In truth, I'm terrified, but I don't want her to see it. I don't want her to see that. I'd only make things worse. It would only make things worse. I guide Abigail over to a fallen tree where we can sit down, indifferent to the blizzard. Even though the church isn't much farther, I don't want to push her too much right now. I wrap one arm around her as we sit, and I hold her close. Where can we go for help? Maybe if the forest spirit sees how rough it is for us? But she shakes her head. Believe me, it would if it could, but I fear that it's even weaker than I am right now. It's much more in tune with the forest than me, so it's suffering the effects even more strongly. All of this because Evelyn killed one tree? It wasn't just any tree, it was one of the ancestral trees, the oldest one. They're the heart of the forest, all of its strength comes from them. I can't pretend to understand their importance, but I know that Abigail isn't exaggerating, not at a time like this. So what do? There has to be some sort of solution, right? Can we plant another tree or something? Even as I say it, I know the idea is ridiculous. We don't exactly have the centuries it would take for a new tree to grow up as big and strong as the one that was killed. The forest spirit is supposed to become the next one. Well, all of the ancestral trees were once spirits like the one you've met. What's stopping it, the mayor? Her hand clutches against my shoulder where she was holding on tightly. That's right, I hadn't even realized. Realize what? Groaning, Abigail sits up straight. As long as we're close like this, it seems that I'm able to maintain my physical form. The spirit can't pass on its own. It needs the help of a fairy queen. That's one of the duties of the forest. But there's no fairy queen right now. Yes, which means that there's no one to complete the ritual. The rest goes unspoken as we both come to the same realization. An awful one. Madison, I know. There aren't any other options, are there? None that I know of. I close my eyes and take a deep breath, heading off the wave of fear that I know is coming. I'm sorry again. It's okay. You don't need to apologize, really. But, taking both her hands in my own, I turn to face her, understanding her eyes close halfway as her lips part to meet mine. Part of me wishes I could spend an eternity like this, together, warm with the woman I love. But even that isn't an option anymore. Our kiss ends far too quickly, although I'm not sure it could have ever been enough. When we part, there are tears on Abigail's face. I'm not sure if they're mine or hers. It'll be okay somehow. I know it. I'll be with you, no matter what. I know. Thank you. Seriously, I couldn't do this without you. I love you. I love you too. As one, we turn and face the forest again, putting the church behind us. Resigning myself to what comes next, I point in the direction we need to go. Let's go visit the fairies. I'm sure they're still looking for a new queen. Ho ho ho! Ho! Sorry. Don't worry, guys. It does get better. I realize it's very heavy, but don't worry. It gets better. Once again, especially because we're on the track for the happy ending. Once again, we reach the grove where the fairies nest. It occurs to me that this is the only part that seems unaffected by the forest sickness. The trees are just as vibrant as ever, and the pond just as crystal clear. We stumble into the middle, near the shore of the pond. Abigail takes several woozy steps, and I hold her shoulder to keep her steady. Then I flicker and she starts to fall, barely managing to keep her balance. Forget days or even hours to find another solution. We might not even have minutes. Hello? I call out, a bit surprised that none of the fairies have come to greet us. I watch the trees and listen for the buzz and flutter of wings, but it remains silent and still. Hello? Fairies? It seems a bit absurd and on the nose, but I don't know what else to say. There's no response. Please, we need your help. We might as well be shouting into the void. There's not even a single rustle. I notice that the birds who used to nest in the bushes seem to have abandoned this place. Tendrils of fear creep through me. What if the fairies have gone too? Madison. I turn towards Abigail, but she's not even looking at me. Madison. She just murmurs my name over and over. I steel myself and face forward for her. If you can help us, I'll find you a queen, even if it has to be me. My voice sounds stronger than I feel. There's no reaction. My heart pounds, feeling like it's gonna burst out of my chest. Seconds pass. Nothing. Beside me, Abigail's fallen silent, swaying on her feet but looking as if she might collapse. All of her trust and hope has been placed in me. I can't let her down. I won't let her down. Just as I gather breath to yell out again, I start to hear a faint buzzing sound deep in the trees. Something flickers, far away but getting closer. I realize it's many somethings. Tiny lights spark to life, woven throughout and across the trees like Christmas lights. Those and the growing buzzing herald the arrival of the fairies. They burst from the trees as a swarm, nearly enough to darken the sky overhead. Like before, the three break apart from the rest and swoop towards us. I recognize them as the three I spoke to before, the ones I named Hay, Anon, and Frio. You're back! To be queen? We've been waiting. They watch inquisitively while the rest of the swarm hover overhead. It isn't what I want. I still barely know what being a queen would entail, much less a fairy queen. All I have is one short vision. All I had was one short vision. And it's not like I have time to research or to learn. There's not time for anything else. It's this or disappear forever and leave Abigail to whatever fate she's suffering. Of course, that's not an option I'm even willing to consider. I put on the sternest face I can and lock eyes with the fairy in the middle. Only if you can help us. Wordlessly, the three fairies dart forward, inspecting Abigail and me. They communicate silently with each other, leaving me to wonder what they're saying and thinking. A minute later, they return to their position in front of my face. Name your terms, but are you sure? We think we know. If you make us human again and stop whatever it is that's happening to us, then I'll make sure you have a queen, whether it's me or someone else. A queen? Who else could it be? We've spent so long looking. There's not much time left, for you or for us. Wait, what do you mean? What are you running out of time for? She'll make her move. Haven't you seen? The moonsick one. Moonsick, there's that word again. Moonsick one, you mean Evelyn? Evelyn, a human name? It must be her. I don't fully follow, but there's no one else they could be referring to. There's so much that I want to ask, but can't right now. How long do we have? Until the moon's at its brightest? When she's at her strongest? Will you be ready then? I'll have to be. I haven't been paying much attention to the moon, but I know that it can't be more than a week until it's full, probably less. I really wish I had Tara's stupid shirts to use as reference right now. Tara. In all of this, I haven't really been even considering that, but by becoming human again, and not just a ghost, I'll be able to see her. And that's at least one big upside, although I don't know where we'll even begin catching up. Still, there's something else that's something to be figured out later. Facing the fairies, I nod. Okay. We can start preparing. Are you ready? It won't take long. Yep, just need a moment to get ready too. The fairies flit off and rejoin the rest of their kind, not bothering to respond. That's fine by me. I turn back to Abigail, who's been silent throughout this entire thing. At first I thought maybe she'd pass out, but instead she's watching me with anxious eyes. Madison, are you sure? Softly she leans against me. Well, she kind of falls. Yes, I'm sure. The fairies have all gathered nearer to the pond, closest to one of the trees. They watch us intently, ruining the chance of any private moment. I kiss Abigail's cheek and feel her nuzzle against me for just a moment. I love you, Madison. She says it with more strength than she's been able to muster so far. I love you too. We look into each other's eyes for one last moment, then I turn and stride towards the fairies. I don't let myself look down, I don't let my hands shake, I keep my steps measured and even. I only glance back once to where Abigail is watching me, then Hay, Frio, and Anon descend once more. Frio loosely grips a crown of woven flowers and leaves as out of season as the rest of this grove. I would say that it doesn't feel real, but to tell the truth, it's been a long time since anything has. Is it time? We hope it is. Just put this on. That's it? All I have to do is put on the crown? That's all for you. Is that too much? We do the rest. Okay. Frio hands me the crown. I let it rest in my palms. It's light, barely noticeable. The flowers are all woven together so deftly that I have to wonder if it's made by magic. It's also slightly warm, like it's been sitting in the sun for a while. I swallow the lump in my throat. This is what's best for everyone, not just for me or Abigail, but for the whole forest. Then, one swift motion, I reach up and place the crown on my head. It fits perfectly, as if it was made for me. I wonder if it was. The moment it touches my hair, the fairies start to move. They chatter out loud, but there are so many of them speaking that it's impossible to hear what they're saying. I don't even know if they're human words. Altogether, they sound like a forest of rustling leaves. A forest of rustling leaves. I shut my eyes as I feel a tingling sensation. It starts at the top of my head and slowly works its way through me. It's not uncomfortable at all, but it also isn't anything ignorable. Something soft brushes against my face and hands. It feels like snow, but it isn't cold. And when it melts away, there's no trace of wetness left behind. An invisible force feels like it's tugging me in every direction at once, but I stay rooted to the spot. A light scent of pine fills my nose. Somehow it's nostalgic. Okay, this was the moment on my first playthrough that my jaw literally hit the floor. Like, my mouth actually fell open with how pretty this is. Like this is a mind-blowing moment for me. And when I played this blind the first time, I was so like in awe of how pretty it was and how pretty she looks. So yeah, this was literally a jaw hit the floor moment for me in the blind playthrough, and it still hits me as like, holy crap, because then the music hits, she looks amazing, like I couldn't contain myself. Anyway, sorry. I open my eyes, still in the middle of my metamorphosis. Warmth spreads through my body like a hot cup of coffee, and with it comes understanding. Of the forest, of how I'm a part of it, I'm acutely aware of its existence, tuned to its precise frequency. I imagine this is what Abigail meant by being connected. Memories that aren't mine start to run through my head, a movie that I can't shut off. Visions of trees sprouting from the earth and growing skyward, and of clouds forming and then falling apart. Each denizen of the forest, every tree, every deer, even the forest, its spirit itself, come to my mind at once, feeling like old friends that I haven't seen in a while. None of it feels new. It's not intrusive or foreign. Rather, this knowledge feels like it's something that's always been there, but without my awareness, or maybe something I'd forgotten. It's so beautiful, guys! It's so beautiful. It's comfortable. And still the fairies dance overhead, their rustling chants even louder as they perform their ritual. I wonder if all fairy queens are inaugurated this way. And at the same moment I know instinctively that they aren't. Visions of a beautiful woman who I immediately recognize as the missing fairy queen come to mind, and with her comes a longing, a feeling of missing something. As my thoughts turn, the vision and the longing are gone too. Look at her, dude! I still can't contain myself. I can feel the rustle of cloth against my skin as even my clothes acknowledge the changes, taking on a life and form of their own. They lengthen and stretch and puff out, becoming a dress more elaborate and beautiful than anything I've ever worn before. Living, breathing flowers bloom from its hem right before my eyes, matching the crown on my head. I feel the magic work its way through, over, and around me, enveloping tightly, and then, as the ceremony comes to an end, I start to feel it drain out of me. It seeps down and out and back into the earth and air, returning to the forest that lent me its strength and trust to take on this role. As I heave a deep breath, the enormity of the responsibility that's been placed on me feels heavy, but not unbearably so. If anything, I'm reassured by the competence and power that I can simply feel that I have. I'm not invincible, I know that much, but for the first time in ages, I feel like I'm in control. I stumble just a little bit as my feet touch the ground that I never knew I'd left. The instant that I do, the last of the shifting magic leaves me, although I can still feel I can still feel it as a part of the forest. Without anyone saying anything, without any confirmation, I simply know it's done. I've become the fairy queen. Hell yeah! So as you might imagine, like I said, that was a very jaw-dropping moment when I first played this game. Like I was like, holy crap, it's beautiful! You know, like it was quite the moment. Quite the moment. Chapter 5. I think our last choice we need is in Chapter 6. Let me go ahead and verify. Not that. Not that, you ruddy git. I need this. Alright, let me double check here. Okay, good ending. And yes, Chapter 6 is the last dialogue choice we need. My first steps as Fairy Queen are shaky. At any moment, it feels like my legs might give out from under me. Yet, at the same time, I feel a strange sort of confidence and inner strength. I don't know if magic literally courses through my veins or not, but it feels that way. My next few steps as Fairy Queen are easier. I keep my gaze fixed on Abigail as I make my way towards her. She waits impatiently, concern clearly etched on her face. The fairies buzz agitatedly over my head, darting and dashing in pointless patterns. Though they don't vocalize anything, I can hear their voices clearly in my head. Our queen! Welcome home! How does it feel? I acknowledge their words, and at the same time, I can feel myself be acknowledged. It comes as naturally as breathing. I promise that I'll get to them in a moment. Madison, are you alright? She clings to my side, her slender arms tight around me. Though I'm not shaking anymore, her presence is still infinitely reassuring. I press my lips to her head, and we sway gently back and forth. I can feel her too as a part of the forest. Her presence is as warm and comforting in my head as she is in my arms. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. She makes a sound that I think is a gasp, and that I soon realize is a sob. Abigail cries against my shoulder, her arms tightening like a vice. I don't ever want to let her go. I hold her as tightly as I can while her body is racked with sobs. Her breath and tears are warm, almost painfully hot. The thin lace of my new outfit does little to inhibit them. I'm so sorry that all of this is happening. I'm sorry. Gently, I find her hands and take them in mine. I squeeze them, trying to impart the same kind of solace that she gives to me. It's okay, really. I'm happy things turned out this way. I'm glad that I met you, no matter the circumstances. Her cries get stronger, and I drop one of my hands in order to brush her hair back from her tear-stained face. We hold each other tightly until she's able to calm down. Meanwhile, the fairies still continue to circle overhead, although they remain respectfully silent. Finally, Abigail heaves a steady breath and steps back just a little bit. I'm sorry again. It was just seeing you there and with the fairy light. I mean, you looked beautiful. You still do. More than beautiful. But it made me again realize everything that you've gone through. Everything I put you through. I press a finger to her lips. She looks up to me, surprised, replacing the sadness. It's okay. I go through all of it again to end up here with you. I mean it. Abigail sniffles heavily, and I can tell that she's trying not to cry again. You can make it up to me by getting out of all this with me. She nods. That sounds more like a gift to me than the other way around, but I'll keep being selfish and take it. Good, I want you to be selfish. We kiss quickly and briefly, then separate. I look up at the fairies above me, who are glad to be noticed again. Thank you for saving me like this. I owe you my life. Somehow, I've ended up owing my life to way more people than I ever expected to. You have 3 ways to keep it. That's right, you're running out of time. We can't wait much longer. I know, I'll find a queen for you. I know that it won't be as easy as I make it sound. After meeting some of the Eisenfeld locals, I don't get the impression that any of them would be interested in the offer. Still, I have 3 days to figure it out. We'll be waiting. We know we'll see you again, with a new queen or not. The ritual finished, the fairies quickly dispersed back into the trees. I'm glad that there's no more ceremony or ritual to go along with my transformation. Alone with Abigail once more, I head to the shore of the pond so that I can finally get a full glimpse of myself. I can barely recognize my own reflection. The girl staring back at me from beneath the water looks much more suited to the position of queen than I expected. She looks calm and confident, like she's unafraid of whatever happens next. I hope I'm not fooling myself. I turn this way and that, admiring my new outfit. Atop my head, the flower crown that the fairies gave me fits comfortably. I wonder if it's meant to tempt me into staying. Abigail moves closer, peering into the water with me. Our reflections next to each other serve as a visible reminder as to why I can't stay. As comfortable and satisfying as this newfound gift is, I have no desire to keep it at the cost of our freedom. I'll get us out of this. You ready to go? I am. Okay, first things first, we need to get in touch with Morgan and Tara. They probably know more about the mayor than we do. It'll also set my mind at ease a lot. There's so much that I need to say to Tara. Even if I spent all of our 3 days just talking with her, there still wouldn't be enough time. How would we do that? Going into the village would be far too dangerous. We don't have to. We just have to get to the cabin. I flex my fingers, still acutely aware of the magical tingling, and that's easy like this. Abigail runs her fingers over mine, her skin angelically soft like always. Alright, I trust you. I curl my fingers, squeezing her hand again. Thank you. Speaking of which, that's something I think we should do. I pause a moment while she waits expectantly. Much like the way my coronation just ended, that what I'm about to say seems unceremonious. I think I can return us to the physical plane too, both of us. It takes a second for the implication to sink in, before Abigail's eyes grow wide as saucers. Madison, are you sure? Her hand clutches her heart. Yep, I can't explain how I know, but I just do. There's a lot of stuff that I can do now. And that's why you'd be able to talk with Morgan and Tara too, and I know that we'll need all the help we can get at the end. I keep banishing thoughts of what that end will be, because there's only one way that this can end, putting a stop to Evelyn once and for all. I don't need that weighing on my mind along with everything else right now. I understand. You know that I wouldn't just abandon you, Madison. I know. Abigail takes a deep breath, steadying herself. Okay, I'm ready. Silently, I step forward, taking her other hand in mine as well. I close my eyes and bow my head, and I feel her do the same. I can feel the magic course through me and out of me, spreading like vines from my fingers. It affects both me and her, taking our very forms and rebinding them to the mortal world where they belong. I can feel Abigail tense up and hear her breathing getting shallow. Still, I keep my eyes closed, willing the magic to continue working. It obeys my whims effortlessly. And then, after a minute that feels like an hour, the flow of magic slows and then stops. I open my eyes. Abigail's still there, her hands warm in mine. Her eyes slowly open as well, meeting mine. This close together, I can feel her breath warm against my face. How do you feel? A light breeze blows through. For the first time in 200 years, Abigail's gown sways in the wind. It's cold. She laughs and she says and laughs, pressing herself even more tightly against me. Abigail shivers, her teeth begin chattering within seconds of her transformation. Despite how poofy it is, her gown really isn't very warm at all. Fortunately, the chill doesn't bother me. It wouldn't make sense for the Fairy Queen to be susceptible to the cold. But taking care of Abigail is a pressing matter. Let's go to the cabin. I can get us there quickly. She just nods, wrapping her arms tightly around herself. I hug her tightly as well and access the magic once again. This time, I use it to transport us across the forest to its very boundary where the cabin is, and where my powers stop being useful. Since the cabin and the village are technically outside the bounds of the forest, once I step past the trees, I'll just be a regular ghost again, at least until I go back into the forest. So I can't get too far away. If Evelyn were to find out where we are, or make some move against us, I'd be powerless to stop her. Better not even give her the opportunity. Still, the transportation is smooth. It doesn't even feel like we move. Instead, we close our eyes in the fairy clearing, and when we open them again, the cabin is just in front of us. Seeing it again strikes a pang in my heart. It feels like forever ago. I guess technically it was a lifetime ago. There's no time to get sentimental though, not with Abigail like this. Instead, we hurry to the front door. Miraculously, the door is unlocked. I guess Morgan and Tara had more important things to worry about than locking up the last time they were here. I guess so. I suppose that makes sense. We rush inside, and I turn on both the lights and the heater. As warm air cranks out, Abigail's relief is palpable and immediate. She settles down into one of the chairs, comfiness outweighing even her curiosity for just a moment. Better? Much. She luxuriates in the feeling, eyes closed in bliss. Her fingers absent-mindedly scrape the soft cushion of the couch, which she presses her back into. It's so soft. Then she leaps to her feet, zooming around the kitchen. She drags her fingers along every different surface as she goes, stopping to examine most of them. I mean, yeah, keep in mind, she's 200 years old. This girl's never left the forest. Like, last time she was alive was like 1800s. Like, you know, it's been a while. She rubs the edge of the counter. Madison, it's so smooth and cold. At the sink, she examines the faucets instantly before spinning one of them. Cold water pours out over her hands, and she yelps in shock but quickly grins. Madison, it's like a river. She's so adorable. Then she reaches the heater, which is pretty much keeping her alive right now. Like a cat, she basks in front of it, relishing in the warmth. Each sensation seems to bring her immeasurable joy. For me, it has been a couple of weeks. For Abigail, it's been 200 years since feeling warmth or cold or texture. I watch fondly. I wish we had more time to enjoy ourselves, more time to show her modern things like films. I remind myself that I can't think like that. We just don't have much time yet. We just have to get through this. Then we'll have all the time in the world. I'm gonna get you some warmer clothes. I'll be right back. Alright. She's still plopped in front of the heater, closer than I would have thought is comfortable. Smiling, I head into what was once my bedroom. It's been rearranged a bit. My suitcase has been shoved into one corner, forgotten. My laptop sits atop my bed, although most of the video gear is missing. Tara and Morgan must have taken it with them when they left. Good thinking. I start booting up my laptop while I roll the suitcase to my bed and start sifting through my clothes. After everything I've been through, the actions feel so mundane that I have to give myself a second just to let it all sink in. Everything's been moving so fast since that night Abigail and I kissed by the river, by the water. There's hardly been any chance to breathe. Still, being back on familiar territory with familiar comforts is reassuring. It makes me feel like a human again. Something as simple as being able to push a button on my computer and watch it respond is a little miracle that I don't think I'll take for granted again. Getting used to the necessities of normal life, like eating and sleeping, will definitely take some time though. Same with keeping warm. Unfortunately for Abigail, my clothes are the only option she has. They won't fit her as well, but they should do better than that nightgown she's been wearing for so long. I complete the outfit with a cute hat. I hope she likes it. Here you go. It's not the best outfit, but it should at least keep you warm. Abigail hurries over and reverently takes the bundle from me. Are these your clothes? Yes, they are. I hope that's okay. She holds the bundle to her chest. I'll treasure them. I show her to the bedroom and also explain how everything works. I have to admire her restraint in just accepting everything modern in stride. It isn't too long before she emerges once again. She holds her arms wide, the cloth hanging a little loosely from her in parts, but she's smiling. How do I look? Gorgeous. That's the word I managed to stammer out, although there's a whole stew of them that would work. Oh, she's so cute! She's so cute. She's so adorable. Call me biased, but I think my clothes would look better on her than me. Giggling, she does a slow spin, showing off more. The person who chose them has wonderful taste. Abigail gets comfortable in the living room while I grab my laptop from the bed. I sit down beside her, turning it on so she can see. This is a computer. It can do a ton of things, but it also lets people talk via long distances. And that's how you're going to contact Tara? Right. Abigail watches with rapt attention as I open a browser and wait for the painfully slow internet to load my email. There are so many different pictures and words. Don't you ever lose track of where you are? Not really. You get used to it. Surely you're being modest. I imagine very few people could operate one of those. I love her. I like how there's all these hearts and she was all in her own head. I wish, but really most people have one of their own, or even more than one. They're a really common part of everyday life. I see. In that case, you'll have to teach me. Definitely. For now, though, I'm going to send that message. How will it be transported? I try to think of how to explain this when I realize that I have the perfect analogy. You know how the forest is all totally connected? Like, how you can sense all the different parts of it? Abigail nods and slowly her face gets pale. Madison, don't tell me that modern people are connected the same way. I can't help it, I burst out laughing. And indignantly, she waits for me to finish. It takes me past the point of having tears in my eyes before I do. I can see that I was wrong. She pretends to pout, although I can see in her eyes she's just playing. I'm sorry, it's just that you look so horrified, she laughs too. Well, imagine how I feel. Apparently nothing is impossible anymore, so I simply have to assume the worst. She snuggles against me, pressing her cheek against my shoulder to show that she's only pretending to be upset. So go on, do explain it then. It's not that people are connected, or it's not the people who are connected, they're machines. But if you have a computer, you can send a message instantly to another computer in the world. It's more complicated than that, but that's the easy way to put it. I see, so you're going to send a message to Tara's computer. Right, I'm going to tell her to come and meet us here. I hope she'll believe it's me. I'm sure that she'll know somehow. I nod, entering Tara's email address into the field. It feels absurdly formal to be sending an email of all things to get in touch with her. I don't think we've ever had an email conversation in our lives. I leave the subject line blank. Anything I would put there would feel comical. I don't really know how to put the word... I don't know how to word the rest of the message, so I don't think about it. I just put my fingers on the keys and start to type. Dear Tara, I know this is gonna sound kinda hard to believe. Yeah, no kidding. It's gonna be a little hard to believe. I'm not dead, as a matter of fact. Kind of alive, at the cabin, just waiting on you, type of deal. Yeah, it does feel a little hard to believe, gonna be honest. But it's fine. It's totally fine. Oh, the poor stretching. I'm acquainting Abby with modern technology when the sound of loud voices from outside interrupts me mid-sentence. Well, one very obnoxiously loud voice. I only know one person who can make a racket like that. I grab Abigail's hand and lead her out into the living room just in time to hear Tara and Morgan reach the door. Tara, stop for a second. We don't know for sure this isn't a trap. Yeah, but what if it's not? I can't take that chance. I'm going in. Tara, wait! The door flies open so hard it bangs against the wall. Tara freezes in the doorway, probably not expecting me to be right there. Or maybe even here at all. Hey. Everything I had rehearsed and planned to say in my head is forgotten in an instant. Somehow this feels more surreal than anything else so far. That's true! We haven't seen each other in like 6 in-game hours! I never had time to doubt any of the stuff that's happened to me. I had plenty of time to doubt if I'd see Tara again. Tara's mouth flaps up and down like a nutcracker statue. I don't think she forms a single coherent word. Morgan approaches from behind and places a protective hand on Tara's shoulder, which seems to reset her. She rubs her eyes as she stares at me. Either she doesn't believe what she's seeing or she's about to cry. Maybe both. You change your look a little bit, huh? When she finally speaks, her voice shakes like crazy. You like it? Tara gives me a slight nod. It makes you look like a total nerd. Without another word, she bursts into tears. She doesn't even hesitate a moment before bounding forward like an excited, tear-stained racing dog. I've spent so long worrying about her that seeing her safe and sound in the flesh is almost too much to handle. There are so many things that we left unsaid or unresolved. I'm just glad that there is time to fix that now. I thought you were dead. Me too. We both burst into laughter, still punctuated with sobs, but at least we both have the clarity of mind to tell that this hug has gone on for too long. When we split apart, she has a big dumb grin on her big dumb face. Welcome back, Mads. Good to be back, Tara. Our reunion over, Morgan finally steps forward, taking Tara's hand in her own. She smiles at me, her expression soft for once. Hey, Maddie, it's good to see you again. Her voice is as calm as ever, but the wide, genuine smile on her tells me that these last couple weeks have changed her as much as they had changed me. You too, Morgan. I feel like I should say something more than that, but I know neither of us is much for words. It's nice to have someone else around who feels the same way for once. Before anything else, there's someone I'd like to introduce you to. I turn to gesture for Abigail, but at first she's nowhere to be seen. Then I spot a familiar flash of pink and purple lingering by my bedroom door. Right, we spent so long together that I'd forgotten how timid she was when we first met. Her eyes are wide as she wrings her hands, looking from me to Tara and back. Tara and Morgan look just as shocked once they notice her. I head over to where Abigail is and take her hand. They're okay, I promise. She nods, allowing herself to be led back into the living room. Tara, Morgan, I'd like you to meet Abigail. I pause for a moment. She's my girlfriend. Whoa, we do have a lot to catch up on. She turns to face Abigail. I'm Tara, been friends with Maddie forever. Nice to finally meet you, Tara. I've heard a lot about you. Hell yeah, all good things I hope? Mostly. I'll take it. Morgan steps forward too. Morgan, nice to meet you. Abigail nods politely. You as well. So, let's sit down. We have a lot of catching up to do and not a whole lot of time to do it. Yeah, how are you supposed to catch up on that real quick? The four of us move to the couch and sit down. Right as we do, though, there's a loud grumble from beside me. Abigail clutches her stomach, looking absolutely mortified. What was that? What's happening? Oh, yeah, we should probably eat something. Eat. Her eyes light up. That's right, I'm hungry! Morgan and Tara look baffled. I can't blame them for that one. Like I said, it's a long story. Is there anything to eat? It's been a long time since either of us have had a meal. I'll make some breakfast. Cross your fingers for pancake mix. Now that's the best coming back to life present ever. Frickin' pancakes. Anyway, I think that's everything. Minus the really juicy stuff anyway. I'm okay with not hearing about that, thanks. Abigail, now finished with her meal, wraps her arm around mine and rests her head against me. Morgan sighs and sends Tara and me a meaningful look. She rises and clears her throat. Abigail, would you mind coming with me for a minute? Morgan's voice carries a more serious tone that feels like a sudden departure from our light-hearted reminiscing. I know it couldn't last forever, but I'm hopeful we can return to it soon. Something wrong? No, not at all, but there's something we need to talk about, and besides, she looks at Tara and then over to me. Her tone might be serious, but her soft expression makes it clear she's not about to deliver any bad news. These two might need a bit of privacy. I nod to her. I nod at her as Abigail lets go of my arm. With a quick kiss on the cheek, she stands and walks to Morgan's side. The two of them head towards the bedrooms, leaving Tara and I to stare at each other in silence. We look away from each other awkwardly as I try to think of what to say. Maybe I should speak first? Should I wait for her? What do I say? She knows how much I missed her, but there was so much tension between us before I died. I never had a chance to apologize for hiding Abigail, or how I handled telling her I was gonna quit. I take a deep breath and raise my head. I just need to go for it. I spent enough time waiting to speak. Whatever happens, happens. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. It was really shitty of me to. We both slam our mouths shut again. Tara's face reddens and she chuckles softly. Maybe we should take turns, as long as you don't mind going first. She takes a long, overly dramatic breath and closes her eyes. I know I was shitty about you leaving. I should have listened to you and accepted it instead of being all bitter and passive-aggressive. And I know I was even shittier once we got evidence. I shouldn't have frozen you out like that. Maybe a bad choice for words there, Tara. I mean, I shouldn't have ignored you the way I did. I want you to be a part of Terranormal. I really do. Trying to exclude you was stupid and impulsive. She looks me right in the eyes, and I can tell that all our typical bravado is gone. That she is pure naked honesty. It's hard enough for me to manage something like that, much less her. She's really put her heart into this, and I'm more than grateful for that. When all this is over, whatever you decide to do, I won't stand in your way. You know I always want you to be a part of Terranormal, but you gotta be your own person. And you're my best friend. Thinking I might have lost you forever made me realize that I honestly have no idea what I'd do without you. I gave you a lot of shit, but I really do love you. And I'm so sorry all this happened because I was too much of a screw-up to remember that. Tara exhales and slumps back in her chair as if the acts of apologizing drained all the energy from her body. She's grown so much in the short time we've been here, then again so have I. I need to make sure I show her the same sincerity in return. I'm sorry too, Tara. Even if I was mad, I shouldn't have hidden Abigail from you. It made things worse for both of us, and it drove us apart when we should have been getting closer than ever. But more than that, I shouldn't have set this whole thing in motion the way I did. The memory of our fight back home is painful, but I can't keep trying to run away instead of dealing with it head on. It's not fair to either of us. I should have told you I was thinking about leaving and why I was thinking it. I should have talked things over with you instead of dropping the bomb on you right before we left. When I thought I was going to be stuck here forever, I realized you were the person I'd miss more than anyone else. Even more than my family. I don't know what I'm going to do when we get back. I still have a lot to figure out, but I do know that whatever happens, we'll always be best friends. Mads, as she struggles to think of what to say next, I gently put my arms around her in a reassuring hug. We've said enough for now. She hugs back, squeezing a bit too hard. We stay that way until it starts to get awkward, as hugs between us tend to do. I pull back and sit down a bit embarrassed. So, are we good? I let out a deep breath, releasing the anxiety that has been twisting my stomach in knots. Whatever happens next, I know it'll be easier, but without that dragging me down. Yeah, I think we're good. Are we good enough for me to start calling you the ghost with the most? Don't push it. The ghost with the most. All right, Morgan's POV. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, I end up bringing Abigail into Tara's room. The two of us carefully step over the pile of clothes on the floor to sit on the bed. She bounces on it a few times. I don't think she's used to springs. Having fun? How do people sleep in these? Aren't you afraid of just bouncing out of bed? It's not that bouncy, it's just comfortable. I suppose tomorrow I can let you know if I agree. Is that what you wanted to talk about? It's hard to put into words. No matter what I was preparing myself for, a conversation like this wasn't part of it. It's about family. Our family. You're a Dalsing as well? I'm a Fisher, actually, but a change in last name doesn't change the fact that we're part of the same family. Oh, I forgot about that! They're like distant ancestors, I forgot. At first, I couldn't believe it. When Maddie and Abigail were telling their story, I thought that there must have been some sort of misunderstanding or that I'd heard wrong. But the details all matched up. Not just that what Evelyn told me over the years, she tried to break my spirit, but with the notes and journals left behind by those before me. So she hasn't changed. After all these years, it's still us. Wow, that's so crazy, right, sorry. Yeah, I'm supposed to be next. There isn't anyone else. No siblings or aunts or uncles, just me and her. She makes a sound of sympathy and moves closer to me on the bed, touching my shoulder gently. I tense up, almost shaking hard enough to shrug her off, but she remains. I don't want to be that person anymore, the one person to let anyone close physically, the one afraid to let anyone close physically or emotionally. I'm sorry. I just nod. I can tell that she doesn't know what to say either, and that's fine. Do you mind if I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you leave? Back in my time, it wasn't even a possibility. There was no way I could have escaped. We wouldn't have gotten very far if we tried. But now Madison's told me about all sorts of fantastic machines and devices. Surely you could have gone? I shrug. Of course I considered it, dreamed about it even, but there's no way she could know that. And besides, I thought about running away many times. I thought of a lot of different ways to make sure she couldn't hurt me anymore. But the same thing stopped me every time. She wouldn't just give up because I'm not around. She'd find someone else, just like she always has, and they die instead. I brace for her to tell me that's ridiculous, that I should have put myself first, or to burst into tears at the very notion. Instead, she laughs. It's not a happy laugh, though. I see. I understand. Truly. I chose to die for someone else's sake as well, someone I cared about very deeply. She sighs wistfully, remembering days long gone. I can't help but smile, the same way that she laughed. I see. I'm just carrying on the family tradition, then. Let's make sure it ends with you. I nod. It will, one way or another. I am glad, though, to know that our family turned out to have people as wonderful as you. I'm really not anything that special. I disagree. Not just anyone could have done what you have. She leans forward, wrapping her arms around me in a gentle hug. This time, I don't hesitate. I hug her back. Family. It's never been a word that really meant much to me. All I ever had was the monster in my home. Now, though, I realize that was no longer the case. We separate, and I gesture towards the door. She nods. Together, we leave the room and rejoin the rest of our family. Hell yeah! This is like best case scenario. Now, we're still locked in for our good ending, on track so far. There is one dialogue choice to go. So here's the thing, we are 5 minutes away from our 2 hours. I imagine this whole thing is taking more time because I'm doing it for YouTube, so I have to read it out loud, and that's why there's the extra time. But I don't think it'll be very long, so we're going to stick through until the end of it because I know we're very close. So we're just going to stick through to the ending, come whatever may. So that's the plan. Anyway. Abigail and Morgan come out of Tara's room and join us, both smiling. I'll have to ask her what they talked about later tonight. But right now, I'm just enjoying the moment. Oh, keep in mind, we are at Maddie's point of view. Anyway, I feel more at peace than at any time since arriving in Eisenfeld. Even during the sweetest moments with Abigail, there was still the lingering bleakness of being a ghost. Now, despite the threat of Evelyn, it feels like there's a chance of everything turning out well. As we talk, Morgan's cat comes and hops up on my lap. I would have expected her to take to Abigail, not me. You are the fairy queen. Anyway, I scratch behind her ears, and she leans into the motion, purring contentedly. Tara notices and sits up straight. Wait a sec, Mads, I just realized you haven't met Gelazera yet, right? I have, back at the shop right before we arrived, remember? No, I mean like met her. Morgan was right, she really can talk. She can? I can. The cat looks up from my lap, staring into my eyes. Her tail swishes lazily. If I feel like it. They both just stare. Both Abigail and I stare in shock at the talking cat. Then why didn't you sooner? It's the first question that comes to mind. Gelazera closes her eyes. After a moment, I start to think that she's fallen asleep, but then she opens them once more. I didn't feel like it. I look over at Morgan sitting across from me. I guess I owe you an apology. It's fine, she certainly didn't make it easy to believe. Gelazera stands up, her tail lashing as she strides over to drape herself across Abigail. In response, Abigail strokes Gelazera's fur, looking almost as gleeful as when we had our first meal. I didn't know if I could trust you. Now I know. I leave the two of them to their cooing and cuddling and walk over to the front window, peering outside. How many times have I stared at the stars these past few nights? Abigail taught me a few constellations, but tonight, it looks like an entirely different sky. I rest my head against the window pane, soaking in the starlight and calm. Hey, by the way, you said you only came into the village the one time, right? Yeah, we didn't want to risk it any more than that. Now, not with how close we came to Evelyn. Makes sense. You, didn't see anything embarrassing while you were spying on us, right? We weren't spying, or at least we weren't trying to. And no, thank God. Oh, phew. For real, though, after this is over, but before we leave, you've got to show us some of the cool spots in the forest. Sure, that'd be fun. Actually, do you want to go right now? Wait, for real? I could show you the fairy clearing at least. That's our favorite spot. How long a walk is it? It's getting kind of late. Oh, we won't need to walk. Tara's face slowly morphs from puzzlement to excitement as she realizes what I'm suggesting. You mean like magic? I nod. Oh, hell yeah! Her enthusiasm startles Gelazera, who hops up and runs away. Abigail gestures in vain for her to come back. You two up for a field trip? Abigail, still upset at losing her new friend, nods stiffly and says nothing. Sure. Galadura traipses back in, returning to Abigail's feet. Abigail perks up immediately. Would you like to come with us, Miss Galadura? I suppose so. Carry me. Abigail gladly obliges. Abigail's like, my cat, come back. I lead everyone outside and into the tree line, just in case there's someone watching. I gather everyone into a circle, and the four of us lock hands while Galadura perches on Abigail's neck. Okay, 3, 2, 1. The forest greets me, and I respond in kind. It shows us the way to its heart, to the lake. I hold Abigail and Tara's hands tightly and breathe the softest sigh. I thank the forest, then... explode! No, I'm kidding. I open my eyes and we're here. As soon as we arrive, I can feel the presence of the fairies in my mind. They're instantly aware of where we are, and I send them all a mental greeting, which is returned right away. Galadura slicks her ears back, and her tail begins to lash harder than before. I wonder if she can feel the magic too. Before I can ask, Tara whistles in awe. Dang, Mazzy really leveled up, huh? I put all my skill points into magic. Even Morgan looks dumbstruck, something I'm not used to from her. She tilts her head back, staring in open-mouthed wonder at the glimmering trees and fairy lights. What is this place? Are we really still in the forest? Yes, it's a very special grove, one of the few places I brought Madison. Or one of the first places I brought Madison. We came back here many times. It definitely feels magical. Damn it, I should have brought my camera. We all head down to the pond. Tara and Morgan gawk at its frozen waters, the same way I did when I first saw it. I feel a strange sense of pride seeing them as excited about this place. A loud buzzing sound suddenly fills the air. Before I can warn Tara and Morgan what's about to happen, fairies burst forth from the trees. Tara yelps in shock as they pass over her, wings beating noisily. Your Majesty, you're back! You've returned! Hello, you three. It's nice to be greeted so enthusiastically, even if I didn't exactly want to be queen. I wave, expecting the three of them to come to me right away, but to my surprise, the fairies sail right past me and flock around Abigail instead. Our queen! Galadura hisses at Abigail, as Abigail shrinks back looking afraid. I'm not your queen, she's over there. Abigail tries to point to me, but the fairies ignore her. No, you're not. We know you aren't. It isn't you. One of them reaches for Galadura, and she swats at the fairies with one paw, just like Abigail did when we first encountered them. The fairies react with shocked indignance, their mouths open in identical shapes of puzzlement. They abandon verbal communication and instead emanate a wave of questioning curiosity. Although I can feel it, it's not directed at me. By listening, or rather by feeling, I realize who they're communicating with. Galadura. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Just to be sure I'm right, I communicate a request for confirmation. Despite her discomfort, Galadura turns to me from Abigail's arms, blinking languidly. Yes, that's right. Now I'm the one whose jaw drops in shock. Care to fill us in, Mads? Galadura, Fairy Queen. Everyone is silent for a moment, even the fairies. Then Abigail clears her throat. Does that mean I should set you down then? No, this is fine. Wait a second. A little seed of hope blooms instantly within my heart. The fairies answer my question before I can even think it. The seed of hope withers and dies in response. Maddie? I close my eyes tightly. I see Galadura in my mind's eye, and the rest of the world fades away as I speak to her. Once again, the fabrics of time tear and disappear. The fairies guide our voices. Galadura can't be Fairy Queen. Not anymore. Not after what the moon-sick one did to her. Evelyn. The last pieces of the puzzle fall into place. I see it clearly. Evelyn, the rogue fairy, burning under the moonlight. The Fairy Queen ritual gone wrong. Galadura running after Evelyn, and then disappearing. Without realizing it, I've reached out for Galadura, stroking the fur. The fairies and I communicate with the heart of the woods. Get it! It's the name of the game! Sorry. Did you see that? I see what they did there. To free her and restore her rightful place on the throne. The woods usher forth its strength. The fairies conglomerate around us, the buzzing increase in frequency until it's a dull hum. I reach within myself, the waxing moon basks the scene, and I gather its light into the pool of my hands. Reaching out, I feel the magic on Galadura begin to vibrate violently. It burns to the touch. Galadura yowls in pain, and all at once the magic shatters and melts away. With a gasp, it's back to the present. Abigail rushes over to me, and the effects of time return. Their interest in their obstinate queen waning, the fairies clump back up and get ready to depart. We'll see you again soon, when the moon is at its brightest, one way or another. With that cheerful reminder, they take off, fading out of sight. I separate their thoughts from my own and push them away. Madison, what happened? I take a deep breath and steady myself. Abigail scoops the pained Galadura into her arms, petting and cooing. It's a long story. I'll tell you later. Galadura, you alright? Yes. It was foolish to think you, new Spring Queen, could dispel such a powerful curse on a waxing moon. Galadura turns away and grooms herself. I feel a rush of guilt. Tara touches my arm slightly. You okay, Mads? Yeah, I'm fine. She grins and pats my back. Trying to ease the mood, she stretches wide and lets out a huge nervous laugh. Good. Well, that wasn't like what I expected. The fairies especially. What'd you think they'd be like? I have no idea, but it definitely didn't involve your cat being a queen. I wouldn't have gotten you a nicer cat. I would have gotten you nicer cat food if I'd known. Yo, Gelato, how come you never told us you were a fairy queen? Galadura doesn't even deign to look at Terra. You never asked. Yeah. As soon as we arrive back at the cabin, Abigail makes a mad dash toward the couch and flops back on it with a loud thud. I'm a little surprised by how quickly she covers the distance. Galadura leaps into her arms and trots over to the kitchen from her arms into the kitchen, immediately sticking her face in her food bowl. Oh, my feet. Are they sore? I can imagine walking around again after so long might be a bit draining. No, it's not that, it's these boots. Abigail kicks off her boots and sends them flying, eliciting a yelp of surprise from Terra as one of the boots nearly hits her head on, dead on. Your feet are bigger than mine. Do you have any idea what it's like to get snow in your boots for the first time in 200 years? The three of us shudder in unison at the thought. Terra takes another step away from the boot as if afraid it'll infect her with cold feet. I can tell you right now that when we go to America, I'm going to be spending the entirety of the winter months indoors. I can't help grinning at her words, even if it wasn't entirely serious. That's the first time I've heard her speak about our future together with that much certainty. I make my way onto the couch and sit down beside her, putting my arm around her without a second thought. She leans against me, our bodies perfectly aligned. When the summer months roll around, I'm definitely taking you ladies to the beach. Abigail instantly perks up at that, clasping her hands together and leaning towards Terra with a huge grin on her face. Yes! Goodness, the sand, the sun, I'd love to see the ocean. Morgan seems a little less enthusiastic about the prospect of the beach, her face an expression more of concern than excitement. If we go to the beach, I'm gonna end up looking like a lobster. Yeah, but you'd be a really hot lobster. I try as hard as I can to suppress a groan, but Morgan and Abigail both chuckle. Abigail I can understand, but the fact that Morgan genuinely finds that kind of thing endearing is baffling. Thanks, babe. So, Abigail, what's the most interesting invention you've seen since you came back? I suppose I haven't seen much of it, but the internet seems like a wonderful tool. I love the idea of being connected and sharing thoughts, feelings, and creativity with everyone around the world. My girl! There isn't a single person more qualified to teach you about the internet than I am. We are gonna have a blast. There's no way I'm gonna let you be the one to show her around the web. You get into enough trouble on your own. But Madison, doesn't Terra perform on the internet? I assume that means she's very knowledgeable about its workings. Terra raises an eyebrow and leans down to place her hands on the table, staring closely at Abigail. So Mads told you about Terranormal, huh? Oh no. She told me some things. I know you tell stories about supernatural occurrences and that you take them very seriously, even when they're quite obviously untrue. Did she now? Sweetie, maybe we shouldn't. And she told me that people all over the world enjoy watching you. It sounds like you must be an incredible storyteller. Nice save. Terra breaks into the same massive grin she always puts on when she knows she's found a new audience. You don't know the half of it, Abby. I've got a million of them. I roll my eyes and lean back against the couch. Abigail just moves closer, ready to hear whatever Terra's gonna say next. Just looking at her feels healing. If listening to Terra's stories makes her happy, then Terra can tell us as many stories as she wants. Now, not that I'd ever tell Terra that, of course. One story turns to another. Morgan and I will chime in with a correction every now and then, but we mostly let Terra work her magic. Abigail keeps asking questions and Terra keeps eating them up. If Morgan's anything like me, she must enjoy seeing the girl she loves acting so happy. I know I am. I don't know what's gonna happen after this. We're still in danger. We still don't have a way out. But that doesn't mean we can't enjoy our time together, all of us. I just wish I could shake the feeling that this is the last time we'll have this chance. We stay like that for a while, telling stories, making jokes, and most importantly, talking about our future. Whether it happens or not, talking about it puts us all at ease. We talk about sharing technology with Abigail, getting her and Morgan new wardrobes, where we're going to go on dates when we get back. In those moments, it all feels real, like we're remembering moments that haven't happened yet. Eventually, the sun begins to dip below the horizon. We have another huge meal to Abigail's delight. Afterwards, Terra tells her even more stories as Morgan and I clean up after them. I'm not sure if the four of us are going to stay in one apartment for long when we get back, but I think I'd enjoy being around Terra and Morgan. Not as much as I enjoy being around Abigail, of course, but enough enjoyment to make me want to stick with them. In time, Abigail starts to yawn and blink wearily as Terra talks. She hasn't had a chance to sleep since she got her body back, so she's no doubt unprepared for the strength the body needs to rest. When the sun finally sets, we say our goodbyes and head for our room. I'm finally looking forward to tomorrow. And switch to Morgan. Alright. We're trekking on through, kids. Not gonna lie, my voice is tired a little bit. I close the door to Tara's room and lean against it to steady myself. I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. I have family, real family that doesn't want to hurt me. And I'm not just talking about Abigail. When I was watching the three of them talk and laugh together, I felt like I was home, like this is where I've always belonged. Hey, you okay? Tara's sitting on the bed in front of me, looking at me with curious eyes. Yeah, I'm okay. Sorry, I just want to wrap my head around this. I get you. There's lots to unpack. You can take your time with it. She scratches the back of her neck, giving me a nervous smile. Guess that means now isn't a really good time to talk, huh? What do you mean? I wanted to talk to you about something, or ask you about something. I don't know. It can wait if you don't want to. If you still want to work on getting your stuff sorted. Is something wrong? No, I mean I don't think so. I've just been working about thinking about some stuff. Like, Tara takes a deep breath and scoots back on the bed. Her legs, she curls her legs upward, up towards herself, taking on a surprisingly subdued posture. It's, well, you know how Abby's been calling us a couple all day, even though we've told her we're not? Yeah, she's not very good at taking hints. I'm not sure if that's it. I think she's just like direct, kind of like you. Runs in the family, I guess. I know we agreed that we were going to stay friends or whatever you'd call this until this was all over. I get that. But after seeing the two of them, I'm not sure if I feel like that anymore. We've still got a lot of shit left to deal with. We still don't have a plan, but I think that's okay. She shrugs half-heartedly and looks down. I want to give her a hug, but I can't move. Abby put a name on this thing we have when we couldn't, and maybe she's wrong, but I don't want her to be. I really love you, Morgan, and I don't want to deny that. I want to be closer than just friends that love each other. I don't. The word leaves my mouth before I have a chance to think it. What? Please don't ask. I'm sorry, I thought... It's not that I don't want to, that's why I'm asking you not to say it, because I know I'll say yes if you do. She looks up at me. I can practically hear the cogs turning in her head. Why don't you want to say yes? People get hurt when they get close to me. I don't even like having friends because of how guilty I feel when Evelyn gets in the way. I'm already so close to you, closer than when I've been to anyone. But if I put a label on it, a part of me feels like it would put you in more danger. It feels so stupid saying it out loud. It's just a word. Why am I afraid of a word? Besides, I've never had a girlfriend before. I don't know what it would mean for me or for you. What do you mean? What about the one you thought you had to knit? Oh no, how could I have forgotten about that lie? It was just so easy to say back then. It made me feel like I knew what I was doing. It made it easier to ignore what happened with those girls. Tara understood everything about me, but I don't want her to tell her about what I did with them or why I did it. Hey, it's cool. I've had plenty of girls lie about having girlfriends before. Just a thing people do. We can just forget about it. We're past lies now, right? Her words stab at me like needles. It's not like she's trying to force this out of me. I could even tell myself that this isn't a lie, that it's just not telling her something about something that she's never asked about. There's more to it than a simple lie. Wait, what am I saying? What am I doing? There are still things I haven't told you about me, about what I've done, things that would make you change your mind. Tara manages a weak smile. It's hard to be reassuring that when you don't know what you're reassuring someone about. If you don't want to date, that's okay. I get it, but nothing you can tell me is going to change how I feel about you. She sits forward again and pats a spot on the bed next to her, but right now I'd rather be miles away from her, not closer. I hate feeling like this. I'd finally learned how to get close to people, and now I'm back to pushing her away. Do you remember what I called myself the first time we talked to Galadura? A shell? But you know that's bullshit now, right? You know that's bullshit now, right? We're gonna make sure Evelyn can't get in your head anymore. Evelyn isn't the only one that made me feel that way. My throat feels dry. I need something to drink, but I know what'll happen if I stop. If this closes, it won't open again. I didn't learn how to knit from an ex-girlfriend. I learned from Hannah. I had feelings for her. We were close, but she cut off all contact with me when I told her how I felt. Word travels fast in Eisenfeld. Within a week, everyone in the village knew I was gay. That's when bad things started happening to Hannah. She slipped on a patch of ice and broke her leg. A few days later, her dog died. The next week, she came down with the worst flu any of us had ever seen. I knew it was Evelyn's doing, but who was going to believe me? As far as they were concerned, all this happened because she rejected me. I am pretty sure some of the older people in the village still think I'm a witch. I clenched my fist, digging my nails as far into my palm as they'll go before my limbs freeze up. As far as they go until the icy hex within me takes over again. No one talked to me for a month. You told me that you spoke to some girls our age back when you were doing interviews. Did you ask them about me? Yeah, we did. What did they say? Nothing really bad or anything. One of them seemed closer to you than the other two, and her friend was kind of teasing her about it, just typical stuff. As if any of them had the right to mock her, they're all the same. I probably slept with her. I wait for Tara to voice her disbelief. She doesn't say a word. After Hannah got better, girls started coming by the store. They'd always had some kind of excuse. They started dropping hints, talk about how they'd always been curious about what it was like to be with a girl, how they didn't have anywhere to be that day. I still can't look at her. Any rational person would judge me for this. I know I've judged myself plenty. They always left right after. Most of them wouldn't talk about it. They'd just go back to their normal lives. I guess some of them talked though. Soon enough, I got a reputation. I knew I was being used. I resigned myself to being a shell, so I let them use that shell. I don't know when I started moving, but before I knew it, I'm standing by the bed. Evelyn never let me like this body. What? Evelyn never let me feel like this body belonged to me. She chose my clothes, she chose my style, she even chose what I did with my hair. It was my body, and she wanted it how she liked it. I can't keep standing. As much as I want to push away, I sit down next to Tara, looking at her face. I can't tell what she's thinking. My mind runs through every worst-case scenario I can make myself push onward. But things have been different with you. For the first time, sex started to mean something. Being open started to seem possible. Being myself started to seem possible. But all I know about myself is how easy it is for people to use me. If I go out of the world and live for myself, I don't know what kind of person I'm going to become. The shaking has started to subside, replaced by a painful knot in my gut. Almost there, I can make it. What if I end up being someone you can't love? What if my shell is the only worthwhile part of me? Without warning, Tara throws her arms around me and pulls me close. I wrap my arms around her waist without even thinking. You're not a shell, Morgan. You're the farthest thing from it. Just because someone tried to make you something other than yourself, or because people took advantage of you, that doesn't destroy the real you, the you that you has always been there. And I know it's a lot better than you think. She nuzzles my neck, and I can feel the dampness of her cheeks. She's crying. You've got passion, you've got personality, you've got conviction, you've got so much awesome stuff in you that I can't name it all if you gave me a whole week. All of that is the real you. And that's the girl I'm in love with, the girl that I want to be with, no matter what. And I want to put a name on it so that you know that'll never change. We pull apart, and she wipes the tears from her eyes. I don't really know a non-cheesy way to put it, so will you be my girlfriend? If you're okay with everything I've done, with everything I still have to do, then how could I say no? Tara instantly lets out a long wheeze and clutches her hand to her chest. Is she okay? You good? Yeah, give me, wait, what? No, go back, hey, you skipped it. I feel like my body's trying to overcome being allergic to commitment right now. I awkwardly pat her on the shoulder. It's obvious that neither of us have any idea what we're supposed to do in a situation like this. Tara grabs me by the waist and gently leads us over to the bed. I press my forehead against hers and, for once, allow myself to be comforted. She strokes my hair, time slows to a standstill, we kiss. This could be our last night together, but in a way, it's our first night together too. And I'm gonna make the most of it. Hell yeah. Progress, they're working it out, and that's great, that's beautiful. Anyway, I hold Tara close in my arms. She's nestled close to me. The sun is long gone, but the moon is bright enough to illuminate her smile. I'm smiling too. Hell yeah. I close my eyes and let myself relax. I think I might actually sleep well tonight. But as always, luck isn't on my side. Hey. Huh? Did you hear that? I strain my ears and see if I can sense anything out of the ordinary, but apart from the usual sounds of the forest, it's silent. I can't hear anything. Maybe you dreamed it? Unless this is a dream, it's definitely real. Unless this is a dream, it's definitely real. I can hear it right now, I swear. I sit up in bed and look over at her. She's already most of the way up, head swaying as she looks for the source of whatever she's hearing. Well, what does it sound like? Kind of like, She makes a strange whooshing noise and twirls her arms around. I don't see how arm movements are part of a sound, but I doubt I'd understand what she's talking about no matter how she put it. She looks at me for confirmation, but all I can do is shrug. In response, she jumps out of bed and starts putting her clothes on. I'm gonna go see what it is. You coming? Whether or not the sound is real, I'm not about to let her go off on her own. I promise I'd protect her, and that includes protecting her from mysterious noises. Right behind you. Besides, as powerful as Maddie is, there's still a chance Evelyn could be trying something. I follow her out of bed and pull on my shoes. She gives me a quick grin in response, excited to have me along for the ride again. Tara bolts out the door as I finish tying my laces. A second later, I hear her banging on the door to Maddie and Abigail's room. Mads, you guys making that noise? I pull on my sweater and walk into the hall in time to see Maddie slowly open the door of her room, covering herself with a blanket. Tara, it is nearly 2 in the morning. Whatever this is, can't I wait until morning? Come on, not you two. I thought it was coming from your room. Abigail's voice calls out from the room, along with the rustling of sheets. What was coming from our room? Are you kidding me? She turns and storms away from the door, moving out into the kitchen. I nod apologetically at Maddie before following Tara. Babe, come on, let's just go back to bed. I'm sure that whatever it is can wait until morning. It keeps getting louder, though. What if it's something dangerous? Maybe Evelyn has her own evil forest spirit, and she's riding it towards the cabin or something. There's a pang in my heart. It's cold and familiar. If the sound is that loud, but none of us can hear it, then maybe it's only meant for her to hear. As I try to figure out how to get her back to bed, Maddie and Abigail join me in the hallway. So what's she's doing this time? She woke up hearing some kind of whooshing noise that I couldn't hear. I thought she'd imagined it, but she can still hear it. Maddie rubs her chin, puzzled. Abigail looks out at Tara with a worried expression. I can't shake the unsettling feeling in my chest either. This isn't the first time something like this happened, so I'd be inclined to dismiss it. But with everything else that's happened this month, before she could finish her sentence, Tara turns towards the door. There, it's right outside. Abigail realizes it first. She steps towards Tara, reaching out with her hand. Tara, don't! What if it's... Oh, no. No. I'm an idiot. Why didn't I figure it out sooner? Tara, stay away from the door. She doesn't look back. As she takes another step towards the door, I will myself to start moving again. Now you guys are actually going to be able to see what I'm talking about. You're going to feel so dumb for doubting me. I'm running towards her, but it's too late. She grabs the handle and throws the door open. Wait, what? There's nothing outside. Maybe that sight will be enough to bring her back to her senses. The sound's gone. It was right there. She turns back to look at me. I'm only a couple of steps away, and I can see the expression on her face. She's terrified. Babe, what? A flash of light fills the room. I'm stopped dead in my tracks as I raise my arm to cover my eyes. Tara! The light dissipates, and my eyes slowly readjust, and my fears are confirmed. She's gone. Tara's gone. I'm frozen. I can't process what's happening. I'm not sure how long the tears start rolling down my face before I notice them. Maddie and Abigail look at me in silence, and then I start screaming. I've never made a sound like this. It's an angry roar that fills the cabin. No! Morgan, it was supposed to be me! It's happening again, just like everyone before her. I love her, and now because of me, I collapse to the ground. Not her, please. Hot tears fall from my cheeks to the floor below. I feel a pair of arms wrap around me and a voice in my ear. Morgan, it's okay. It'll be okay. I slowly turn towards her. She and Maddie both stand close to me. I can see how worried they are, for Tara and for me. Maddie puts her head on my shoulder. I flinch, but I don't pull away. She's still alive. I can feel it. Whatever just happened didn't kill her, but it did move her. I can't figure out where yet, but I can sense her somehow. You're sure? I'm sure. We can find her. I think I know where she might be. Where? If it was Evelyn that took her, she most likely brought her to the church. That's where she performed the ritual too. She trails off, but I know what she was about to say. The transfer ritual. She wants Tara's body. But why her? That's what she was raising me for. Why would she take her? I'm not sure, but I've got a feeling that there's only one way to find out. I'd hoped we'd have time to come up with an actual plan before we had to face her, but we can't just let her have Tara. That's right, let's go. I'm already heading for the door. Maddie and Abigail follow close behind. We can figure out something on the way. Let's go. We'll think of something. We have to. This time it's going to be different. I am not going to let Evelyn win again. I'm going to win. I'm getting Tara back, no matter the cost. And this time, I'm going to make sure Evelyn never hurts anyone again. For better or for worse. This is the end. For better or for worse, this is the end. There it is. Chapter 6, everybody. There is a dialogue choice in this one. And we have to be ready. We have to be ready. Alright, now we are in Tara's shoes. So this time, we need to say, you're right. You're right. And that is the good ending. You're right. And that'll be the final thing. Alright. I don't even have time to be disoriented before I hit the stone ground hard. I struggle to pick myself up and stand, but before I can, footsteps approach. Evelyn's, of course, and I'm hauled to my feet. She does it with one hand. She's way stronger than she looks. Hello, Tara. As expected, we're in the church. She drags me over and throws me onto the altar. I try to resist, but my limbs won't move. Oh, hey, thanks for the ride. I'm scared, but I'm scared. More scared than I've ever been in my whole life, but I don't want her to have the satisfaction of knowing it. She walks away, out of sight, although I can still hear her close by. They're gonna come for me, you know. We figured out your whole plan. They're probably already on their way. Let them. I'll kill them too. Her tone is casually disinterested. She can't even give me the courtesy of pretending she cares. I wish I could move my head to see her, but I can't. I can't move any part of me other than my mouth. It's always such a nice feeling to return here, such a sense of renewal and energy, although I imagine right now you don't feel the same way. I don't know. Digging the ambience. I'm about to die and I'm making jokes. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? We had a plan, one with a good chance of working. I know that Mads and the rest won't abandon me. They'll just switch it up a little, same as if it'd taken Morgan, and like we expected. Honestly, it's probably better for everyone that Morgan's the one who's free right now. She's less likely to screw something up than I am. Still, it's all I can suppress a little voice inside me telling me to be afraid, to acknowledge that I'm about to die, or worse. Really, you should be thanking me. For what? I must have missed it. Because by dying here, you're giving poor Morgan another chance. If she runs away now, I have no more need of her. I'll let her live. Of course, if she turns up here with some delusions of grandeur, she'll die along with the rest of them. A chill runs up my spine. Because I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that there's no way she won't come for me. That she won't run away. Still, the way that Evelyn can talk so cruelly about her own daughter makes it hard for even me to to keep up my attitude. You really don't feel anything, do you? You raised her, you lived with her, and even after all that, finally you get something right. I don't feel anything for her. You got something wrong too. Evelyn halts and then stalks closer to the altar, close enough that I can see her wildly dilated pupils, the razor-sharp points on her fangs. I didn't raise her, I cultivated her. From the minute she was born, I prepped her for this fate, to be a worthy vessel. How could I have known that a much more useful one would come to my doorstep, just days away from my ascension? Now she takes a step back, letting the moonlight fall across her. She arcs her back like a cat, enjoying it. She raises an arm, and I'm lifted into the air like a circus performer, suspended from nothing. My arms are snapped to my sides. I struggle as hard as I can, but I still can't feel at all. I can't even flail around. Still, her words pique my curiosity, and I'm dying to know what she meant. Since I might be dying anyway, I may as well ask. More useful how? She grins. Because this night is very, very special. For years, centuries even, I've whiled away my time here in Eisenfeld. It amused me to no end. But I've grown bored of it. I desire to see more of the world. And while any human body would do, I suppose, there's merit in one such as yourself, one with influence and fame. I don't even know how the words to convey how disgusted I feel. It's not enough for her to steal my body, she also wants to pretend to be me. I think the horror I feel must show on my face because she smirks. As she does so, her skin starts to shimmer and shake like there's light just underneath it. A thin thread of ethereal matter, like the spell that she used to bring me here, ekes into existence. It stretches between her hand and my chest. The second it comes into contact with me, I feel like all the strength is sapped out of me, like I'm being sedated. I hope I'm only passing out and not dying. I'm not sure if the two feel different. It would suck extra hard if I was dying though, because then my last sight would be Evelyn sneering cruelly. Just before it all goes black, she manages to get in one final taunt. What an ironic fate for you, don't you think? You came out here seeking magic, and now you found it. That's so creepy! Oh, so creepy. Alright, well, give me one moment, fam. I'll be right back, and we can continue this crazy train. Okay, we are back. Sorry. Anyway, my blood sugar plummeted so suddenly, and I was getting lightheaded, so I had to rapidly eat something. So, it's already kicking in. I already feel better, and it will be a little bit better. And then after I'm done recording, I'll actually eat dinner. So, fear not. Anyway. Okay, we're up and ready to go nearly the instant that Tara disappears. It's shock, of course, but not the one that messed up all of our plans. I walk to the front door, which is still open and banging in the wind. I'm going to fucking kill her if she hurts Tara. Tara will be fine. She's tough. Besides, we've got a plan, right? After a long moment, I nod. Right. Maddie turns back to face Abigail, who's half hidden by the bedroom door. Are you sure you want to go, sweetheart? You can stay here. Of course not. There's no way you're doing this alone. I'm just a little nervous, that's all. Me too. I'm a lot nervous, actually. We'll be fine, though. If she keeps saying that, it'll be true, right? I wish I could believe it. I wonder if Maddie even does. I scoop up Geladura and wait outside. We need to leave now, but I force myself not to rush them along. A minute later, they follow me outside. We run. The landmarks pass by us without a pause. Quickly, into the woods so we can teleport. We hurry up into the woods. Despite some wind and fog, the night is relatively clear. It's actually insane how quickly my blood sugar can stabilize after I eat something. After it's plummeted, like I feel worlds different, like insanely different. And I was getting pretty lightheaded. I was really starting to shake. My limbs were getting tingly at the ends of them. So yeah, that was kind of not good, but we're good. I'm back. That's fine. Anyway, It's madness how quickly it changes and drops when the blood sugar like plummets. It's actually insane. Are you sure you don't want me to just take you to the church? I could have us there in a second. I know, but you can't know. But she can't know about your powers yet. If we arrive too fast, then Evelyn will know something's up. It would be nice to take the easy way like that, but we can't do anything rashly. Not if it might hurt Tara in the long run. Right. We have to wait until her soul is out of its body, and then we'll send the signal. Do you know how long that'll last? Like, how long it'll be exposed? I have no idea. I hope it won't be instant. You hope? I nod. I wish I knew more. I really do. But it's magic, and magic is rarely predictable. That's the only thing I can say with confidence about it. I'm not sure what's more I should say. This is where we'll have to part. Even though I'm making the rest of my journey on foot, Maddie and Abigail will need to use magic to get to the fairy clearing. Before we do, though, there's one thing I need to say. Maddie. I know there isn't really time, but I need to say this, since I might not get another chance to. Geladur nuzzles my chin, reassuring me. I'm sorry. That doesn't even come close to describing it, but it's all I can say. For bringing you out here, getting you involved in all this, I never imagined any of it would turn out this way. So, if you still hate me, I understand. I just wanted you to know. It feels good to have the words out there. I spent so much time agonizing these past few weeks, but it's still a bit of relief every time. Morgan. Well, first of all, I accept your apology, but I promise I never hated you. It was my fault for acting like such a bitch when we first got here. And as for everything else, well, some of it might have been Tara's fault, but a lot of it was my fault too. So let's get this over with. We'll save Tara, we'll take care of Evelyn, and then we'll all go home. Simple, right? I just nod again. I'm not sure I can talk right now, not without crying, and I hate crying. I wish it were that simple. I hope it'll be that simple. But it rarely is. I mean, unfortunate, but kind of true. I swallow the lump in my throat. I have to say something. Hey, here it is. All right, I've literally already forgotten. Hang on. Okay, confirming here. Okay, let me just get a quick little boop. Okay, I have to say you're right, and it is the good ending, okay? So here's the different images. One is I promise I'll make it up to you, which is there's only one way I can keep them all safe for good, or whatever, which is a ridiculous thing. It's one way or another. This ends tonight. Okay, which she's like, I'll kill her. And then there is, you're right, I'm not alone anymore. We can do this together. Which, of course, that's the happy ending. Interesting thing, though, if memory serves, I think this option, the super duper bueno option, doesn't appear if you don't say the other things. Like, I think you only have the two, and that's the reason why you have to do them in the right order, because if you don't, then you have, like, you know, A or B, right? But then I think the third option appears if you do the other stuff correctly, if memory serves. Anyway, you're right. There's my record. You all saw me select it. You're right. It's simple. I take a deep breath, clear up my head as best I can. I've been waiting my entire life for this. My entire bloodline has led me to this point. A chance to end all the pain I've endured, to save someone I love. To make sure the countless people who carried this burden before me will be avenged. And to make sure that no one else will get hurt. How it goes from here isn't just up to me. It's up to all of us. That's right, kids. Around us, the wind quickens and grows in intensity. The bright full moon looms high over us. One last time, I nodded at Maddie and Abigail. Okay, let's go. Hell yeah, let's go, kids. Let's frickin' go. This is hardly a plan, it's barely more than an idea. It relies far too much on luck, and everything goes our way. But it's all we have. The furious winds tell me that I'm in the right place, as if there was any doubt. When I approach the doors to the church, they blast open. I've been expected. I don't waste any time, I rush in. Tara floats in midair, suspended by invisible magic. She lies prone with her arms and legs apparently locked in place. She looks dead. A colorful cloud floats above her with a long tail spiraling back towards her body. I don't even need to be told, I know that it's her soul. It thrashes about as much as a cloud can, but is seemingly locked out. Before, Evelyn stands hunched with her back to me. A trail of malevolent white magic tethers her to Tara. Moonlight pours through the window behind them, piercing Tara and illuminating Evelyn. When she hears me enter, she stands up straight, her back crackling obscenely. She's disgusting. Morgan, you came! Wow, she is horrifying. Her voice isn't the voice I know. It's raspy and inhuman. It echoes around the church louder than it should be, dragging itself from corner to corner. I knew you would, you always do. Her body spasms and twitches as if electrified, still her voice remains steady and flat. Of course I came. You're not taking Tara. You're not taking anyone else ever again. She laughs, but it sounds like a choke. There's no humor in it. It's inhuman. Do you know how many times I've heard that before? Countless. And yet, here we are. Predictable. You humans always are. Curiously so. You have all of this freedom, but you don't know how to use it. Pity, 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 pity. Soon I'll have taken the body of your friend, and you will be dead, and I will be far, far gone. My God, she is so horrifying. You see, I've grown tired of playing pretend out here in the woods. I've decided it's time for something new. And Tara is going to give that to me. You'll still be a pretender. Evelyn turns to notice Galadura for the first time, and she licks her bloody lips. So you're here too. Fitting. Evelyn's gaze narrows, then her eyes widen once again. She points imperiously at Galadura and I, and the stone walls of the church rumble in response. I can tell you're still no queen, no more than that brat who stands there beside you. You're still powerless. Tell me, who's the pretender now? A brick detaches itself from the ceiling, plummeting down straight towards us. I dart out of the way, barely managing to avoid it. Galadura yells as I squeeze her harder than intended. You're just as pitiful as she is. What do you think you could do? How do you think you have any chance? Or is it just human nature to try, even if you're doomed to fail? The moon is at its peak or close to it. If she waits much longer, she won't be able to complete the ritual, and she'll have done our job for us. Maybe she knows this because she turns away from us once again. I have to stop her. I push my legs forward, but some invisible force pushes back. Like moving through quicksand, I can barely inch forward. Something's protecting her. Inch by inch, I had to keep moving. A pulsing ball of magic starts to form in front of Evelyn, and she focuses intently on it. The light from the moon falls directly on her. Her skin reacts to it and bubbling and boiling like hot wax. That's disgusting. It must be agonizing, but she doesn't react. Maybe she's beyond pain. Galadura leaps out of my arms, making her own way beside me. Her breathing is ragged and labored. Neither of us wastes energy on more words. I don't know what I'll do if I reach Evelyn. I just know that I can't sit still. The coalescing ball of magical energy continues to grow and grow, taking on a sinister dark hue, the color of a moonless night, the color of an empty void. It starts to spin, crackle, and shimmer. That's when I realize that this isn't for the soul transfer. It's too strong, too unstable. What? Before I even finish my thought, a tendril of malevolent energy suddenly shoots out straight towards me. It moves too fast for me to react. It pierces me like an arrow. Godless, fiery pain burns through my veins. My whole body stiffens, refusing to move. I can't even cry out. Each individual atom of my body feels like it's being tortured, like a burning needle is being driven through them. I want to scream. I want some sort of release, but I'm not even granted that mercy. Behind the pain, there's a rising, mounting horror. I'm gonna die here after all, aren't I? My vision starts to go black. I welcome oblivion. At least then I won't have to hurt anymore. I try to move my eyes to fixate on Tara. If I'm gonna die, I at least want my last sight to be of her, even like this. I can't even manage that. All I can see is Evelyn. She says something, her lips moving, but I'm deaf to it. All I can hear is a deep, resonating, ringing around sound in my ears, like some perverse bell toll. Then Evelyn's eyes go wide, wider than before. The air behind her shimmers and shakes, just like her magic spell. Empty space tears itself open, and she's sucked backwards like a rag doll. In an instant, the magic and pain is gone, leaving behind no trace. I fall forward, my momentum having been knocked in place with me. And just ahead, Tara crashes to the ground limply. I stagger to my feet, not trusting my body to support me, but it does. The complete absence of pain is a shock in its own right. I feel like I should be experiencing the after effects, but I'm not. All that lingers is the memory. Galadura scurries over to me. Morgan, are you alright? I think so. I feel fine, actually. What happened to Evelyn? She licks the back of her paw for a second, then stops. I'm afraid that I panicked and I sent the signal to Madison. I tried to help you, but I couldn't. My own power is still weak, not nearly enough to match Evelyn's. There's no changing it now. None of this matters if Maddie isn't able to stop Evelyn. It was going to be unlikely to begin with. It looks like we're in a hard fight. Galadura must know that as much too. She pads back and forth, her tail twitching in agitated fervor. I stroke her fur. Still, thank you. Can you help me check on Tara? Of course. We rush over to where Tara lies prone on the cold floor. Her soul is nowhere to be seen, which I hope means that it returned to her body. I cradle her as tenderly as I can, checking for a sign of a pulse or breath. I gently prop her against my chest, stroking her hair. Please be okay, please. 2 tears drip down my face, landing on hers. I didn't realize I was crying. Galadura lingers beside us, nuzzling her face against Tara's cheek. She's alive. I can feel that much. Is she okay, though? I don't think she should experience any lasting effects from the magic. It's the fall to the ground that worries me more. That's true. She fell from pretty high up onto a stone floor. I wipe away the tears that fell on her, steeling myself to prevent any more. I trace my finger across the curve of her jaw down to her lips. They press together just a bit to kiss my finger. Tara, can you hear me? I'm afraid to let hope spring into my heart again. Her lips move just barely. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. There's a soft, blessedly warm gust of air against my face as she sighs and forces her eyes open. I said I'm dumb as bricks, babe. It'll take more than head trauma to hurt me. I pull her up and into a hug and she pats my back. You okay? You're sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I wipe my eyes as we part to face each other once again. I was so scared. I wasn't. I knew you'd save me. I don't deserve someone like her. Is there any way we can get to Mads? She might need our help. We both turn to face Galadura. I can take us there, but I don't know how much use I'll be when we arrive. Tara moves to question, but I place a hand lightly on her arm. Galadura is barely holding on as is, and her guilt at her inability to do more is palpable. It's all up to Maddie. Let's go. There isn't much time. I help Tara to her feet, and she immediately winces, hissing in pain. You okay? I'm fine. Guess I just hurt my ankle in the fall. She's able to stand on her own, giving me a shaky smile. I don't like it, but there's nothing I can do right now. At least it's only her foot and not her head or her back. With a graceful jump, Galadura hops into my arms once again. I stand next to Tara, who leans against me for support. With one hand, I support the cat, and with the other, I take Tara's hand in my own, and then I nod. We're ready. Alright. To Maddie. Maddie's gonna have an epic showdown with Evelyn. It's gonna be freaking scary. My heart pounds as Abigail and I arrive in the fairy grove. This place has been the setting for most of my favorite memories here in the forest. I could have never guessed that it would be where everything ends. I can feel the fairies, my subjects, watching from close by. They don't show themselves, but their presences are like tiny little pressure points on my consciousness. They're just as tense as I am. Closing my eyes, I reach out to the forest, asking for its aid. It still hurts, badly. It laments the terrible pain that it suffered. I promise that it'll be okay. It's my duty as queen to ensure this. I hold the forest in my heart and promise to rid it of the moonsick one. Abigail and I walk to the water's edge. Nervousness tears at my stomach. Galadura's signal could come at any time. I have to be ready. High above, the moon offers its light to us. The whole lake is dyed in its silver glow, shimmering and refracting and amplifying. Moonlight caresses my face like a lover, warm and invigorating. I indulge in it, letting it sink in through my skin, my roots, my forest. Every little second could be crucial. How do you feel? She holds my hand loosely in hers. Nervous, in a way I've never felt before. Nothing else in my life has ever been this important. There have never been life or death consequences like this. What if I screw up? I expect to see her fear reflect on Abigail's face as well, but when I turn towards her, she looks serene and unbothered. I have complete faith in you, Madison. The fairies said that you're not just anyone could be queen, but that you could. They saw something in you, too. We're all pouring our trust in you. The whole forest is, and our friends, too. We couldn't do that if we didn't believe in you. I wish I could use a magic spell to boost my confidence. For all the power that I hold right now, it sure feels insignificant. So far, everything has come naturally. Moving through the woods or interacting with its denizens is easy, but to use my magic against another being, that's something else entirely. But I can't let that kind of attitude overwhelm me. I can't be defeated before it even starts. Abigail's right. Everyone is counting on me. I can't let them down. Thank you. For what? For believing in me. She leans forward and kisses my cheek. Always. Always. That word has meant a lot of different things to me lately. My concept of forever keeps shifting and changing. Even now, I'm not entirely sure what it means. I suppose that after tonight, I will. You know, when we were here before, there were times when I wished it could last forever, where it was peaceful and just the two of us. But now, more than anything, I'm ready to go home. I'm ready for us to make new memories together. Nothing would make me happier. When you came into my life, I thought that it would be fleeting, like a nice dream that I might someday look back upon and smile. I didn't dare imagine nor hope for anything more. But now, well, perhaps you made an optimist out of me after all. I kiss her forehead and then her nose and then her lips. I love you, more than anything. I love you too, more than anything. Together we face forward, and that's when I feel it. A cold flash of foreign fear. It stabs through my heart and the idyllic scenery. I recognize the origin immediately. Galadur's panic signal. I step away from Abigail, clearing a space. I force myself to breathe evenly as I reach within myself mentally, searching for the magic. Now's the time. I call upon the power within me. Unlike before, when it blossomed and flourished at my request, now it lies dormant and afraid. I understand. I'm afraid too, but there's no time to be afraid. Using my authority as Fairy Queen, I coax the magic forth. The church's presence arches like an inflection, and I promise the forest that I'll help heal it. The magic ripples through the woods. It sets upon the church, finding Evelyn easily. I can see her in my mind's eye, but I can feel her. I can't see her in my mind's eye, but I can feel her. Feel her hatred and scorn and fear. Aha. Now, so I'm not the only one who's afraid then. That's more reassuring than anything else. If she detects the magic that's coming for her, then I can't tell. At my will, the tendrils of magic wrap around her like vines. Then I stick my hand out, my physical, actual hand, and I pull. The result is immediate. Just above the surface of the lake, a ripple disrupts the air as a massive rift opens up. Within seconds, Evelyn falls forward through it, collapsing in a heap to the shore. Gotcha! It's wrong, though. She's still in her regular body. It's not just her vulnerable soul like it should be. I take a fearful step back. Why did Galadura send the signal early? My blood runs cold. What if something happened to her and Morgan? What if she wasn't too early? What if I was too late? I try to rally my thoughts and concentrate on what to do. She quickly picks herself up, wild eyes cast back and forth. Her appearance is monstrous, and it finally fits her personality. Her gaze falls on me, and her lips curl in hatred and disgust. So it's you. I see that even death didn't want you. And now here you are, stinking of snow and pine, stinking of them. You wear their clothes, you bear their crown, but you're not one of them. She lumbers forward, her steps seeming pained. She's either dazed from being pulled here, or from the effects of her own spell, but I can't count on that to last. You're right, I'm not. I'm just like you'll never be a human. I need to buy myself time while I try and think. Human? Is that what you think I want? I will be more than human. A gust of wind stirs up, likely at her calling. The trees shake, and I plant my feet firmly to keep from losing my balance. I feel the barriers in my mind freeze and break away. She's gone. As the world spins around me, the moon shines down on the lake. I search for her presence with my mind, but I can't find her. Like a fish that slipped off the line, I need to calm down. My heart races as my head begins to ache and throb. You're so fragile, so easily damaged, so easily broken. The biting wind intensifies, threatening to sweep my crown away. Abigail shields herself with one arm. Evelyn, however, remains unaffected. What's wrong, little child? Why not make this easy on yourself? I can make it painless for you this time. Reality and an illusion blur and bend, and the fabrics of my vision tear. She takes another step forward in my mind, shattering what little focus I had. She's almost close enough that if she lunged forward, she could grab me by the throat. Instead, Evelyn scratches at her own neck, her nails drawing blood, but she doesn't seem to notice. High in the sky, the moon watches over us, indifferent. I can feel its light sustaining me the same as it bolsters her. She turns to look at it, shivering. Do you know why you were the first to go? Because you were the easiest. All alone, off in the woods. Tragic accidents happen all the time out here. Really, it's my daughter you have to blame for all this. It's a shame you won't get another chance. I try to find her again with the magic, but I can't. It's like she isn't even there. Where her consciousness should exist, there's nothing but a gaping hole. A void that feels familiar somehow. Her eyes glow red as she faces me again. Looking for me? My consciousness is immediately assaulted. My head pounds as I feel Evelyn enter it like an intrusive thought. With every push and pull, she rips at my soul. Her magic quakes under her power, flickering and fearful. I try to reach out and grab it, pull my own consciousness back, and pull my own consciousness and strength into me, but every time I get close, it's yanked away. Unrelenting, overwhelming. Die, die, die! It echoes and reverberates in my skull. I choke, momentarily forgetting how to breathe. Every single thought, every single idea snatched and destroyed. I can't even see anymore. I knew it. Your gifts are wasted on you. Queenship is wasted on you. What good is power if you don't know how to use it? All of you are the same. A sneering pain in my head forces me to my knees. Your friends couldn't save you then, just as you can't save them now. A unseen force shoves my head upwards, making me look at Evelyn. A particular ringing blocks... What the... Oh, sorry, that's my stupid-ass phone going off for no reason. I was like, what the hell was that noise? Anyway, sorry. A particular ringing blocks out all other sound, except for her words. I'm deaf to the wind, to the forest, to Abigail. See what you've done, and despair. She gestures imperiously towards the empty space between us. It's just like the portal I used to bring her here. Another hole in space rends itself open. Through it, I can see a glimpse of the murky stained glass window of the church. Then it upends unceremoniously, spilling out my friends, or at least their bodies. Nausea hits me at the sight. Tara is there, her body limp and broken, arms and legs splayed at an obscene angle. Blood trickles from her mouth, beneath her open, sightless eyes. Morgan is also there, in a heap, though her body isn't as mangled as Tara's. A grisly wound stretches from her ear, across her face and down her neck. Blood stains the sand beneath her. Even Galadura lies there motionless, though her back is turned to me. A small puddle of water forms beneath her, spreading as she seems to melt. I scream. I want to run towards them or clutch at my heart, but I'm pinned in place. How? What went wrong? Was this why the signal came too early? I shouldn't have left them alone. I should have gone with them. This is my fault, isn't it? Evelyn's attack on my mind ceases in order to let me truly comprehend the horror before me. As much as I fight it, my heart gives away to what Evelyn asked of me. I despair. You know, it's going well, basically. It's going well. Meanwhile, at Morgan's POV, Maddie is getting her butt handed to her. Our feet touch solid ground, and Tara immediately loses her balance. I grab her shoulder to keep her from falling. Galadura pants heavily, the magic having taken a heavy toll on her. Maddie, Abigail, and Evelyn are on the far side of the lake. Only Abigail seems to notice us. Even from a distance, the terror on her face is clear. Come on, they need our help. Tara takes one step forward and falls to the ground, clutching her ankle. Shit. Just then, Maddie screams, or in pain or in horror, a sick feeling in my stomach. All three of us turn to look, although there's nothing new to be seen. I know from experience that doesn't mean she isn't in pain. Abigail is tugging on her arm, but Maddie doesn't react at all. She must be beyond even feeling it. And just behind Evelyn, a familiar-looking ball of sinister light is forming, sparkling in the moonlight. Its tendrils jolt and jag with a familiar hunger. Maddie doesn't even know. Evelyn turns back and looks at us, a sadistic grin on her face. The tendrils of magic shift, and a feeling of impending doom fills my lungs. I look back at Tara, who scowls at her foot as she tries to move. There's no way she'll be able to. I don't have long to act. I turn to run to confront Evelyn myself. I don't know what else to do. Everything has gone wrong. All that matters to me at this point is that Maddie and Tara get out of here. If I have to die for that to happen, then so be it. I hesitate, just slightly. My leg wavers as I try to take a step forward. It's enough for Tara to grab my arm, grimacing through the pain. Where are you going? To stop her. Tara's grip tightens. Not without me, you aren't. Tara, you can't. Neither can you. I'm not letting you throw yourself away. Not again. Something soft paws at my leg, and I look down to see Galadura staring up at me. Both of you. As sweet as they are, this isn't the time for sentimentality. I think it's how you say that. Every second we spend talking is another second wasted. Morgan, the moonlight. I glance up at the sky, but don't notice anything different. The moon shines down on both Maddie and Evelyn, surely invigorating them both. However, it's obvious from the situation that Evelyn is better at using it. What about it? It's magic. It's making magic stronger. With enough of it and our magic, we can stop her. Whose magic? Yours and Maddie's? Her eyes glisten in the moonlight as she stares up at me. No, Morgan, mine and yours. What? I can't keep the exasperation out of my voice. We don't have time for her to mess around. Galadura nimbly climbs up my legs and torso, my heavy sweater protecting me from the pain of her claws. She perches on my shoulder. Love is its own form of magic. It makes the impossible possible, and I know you have plenty of that. I turn to face Tara, who's been listening to every word. Despite it all, she gives me an encouraging smile. I don't know anything about magic, and I'm still figuring this love thing out, but I know I believe in you, Morgan. Go kick her ass. I breathe in deeply. I could try and stop her myself. Even if I had to die for it, I would. What Galadura says sounds crazy, but everything about this is crazy, and I don't want to die. Okay. I'm putting all my trust in Galadura and in Tara, just like I know they're putting their trust in me. I won't let them down. With one arm, I help keep Galadura in place, and as fast as I can, I run heading straight for Maddie and Evelyn. Hell yeah, here we go. Alright, back to Maddie in Horrorville, where she's suffering mentally. Now do you understand? Everything that you've done still wasn't enough, even cheating death itself. Now join them. Barely on the periphery of my awareness, I can see magical energy coalescing behind her, the spell that's intending to end my life. I need to react. I need to move out of the way, to do something, but I can't. I'm frozen. I can't tear my gaze away from the sight of Morgan and Tara. I couldn't protect him either. I couldn't save him. Maybe I deserve this too. I wasted the second chance I was given. Maybe I Another presence cuts through the haze of my mind, giving me a sudden spark of clarity. Madison! She must have been calling my name for a while. Madison, it isn't real. You aren't alone. Her words cut through my despair like a hero's sword. I lock eyes with her and I welcome her into my own head. She's so vibrant, so present, that she forces out Evelyn. Everything that I was feeling just moments before, all of the fear and horror is swept away, and it's replaced by only one thing: love. She helps make me myself again. Time itself has stopped, or rather it doesn't exist here. Right now, we're the only two people in the universe. I'm aware that this is only a vision and not reality. Yet, somehow, it's more than that. Perhaps it's a different kind of magic. We're surrounded by light, stars flicker, watching us to see what will happen next. I witness both myself and Abigail, but it's not just the visions of ourselves that are here and now. Rather, it's our future together, the two of us, happily laughing, smiling, growing old. It takes me only an instant to understand. She's the one imagining it, sharing this with me, the same way that the fairies did. This isn't just a wish or a possibility, it's a promise. Both in my mind and in the real world, I take her hands. I don't worry about Evelyn, because in my heart, I know that we've already won. I look Abigail in the eye, and I say just two words. I do. I focus on the feeling of her hand against mine, and the knowledge that she's with me. I steady my breathing and face back towards the scene that Evelyn conjured. Only now do I notice the imperfections there. Morgan's sweater is the wrong color. Tara's hair clips are in the wrong shape. Even the markings on Galadur's fur are different. You liar. I should have known. They were just more illusions. It's always illusions with her. I almost fell for the same trick twice, but it won't happen again. Before my eyes, the fake images flicker and then dissipate, vanishing entirely. For the first time, Evelyn takes a step backwards, shaken by my resolve. The spell that has been charging collapses into nothingness. She shudders yet again, harder than before. She shakes so hard that she looks like she might fall apart. But she doesn't, and when she faces me again, there's still murder in her eyes. Evelyn takes a decisive step forward and outstretches her hand towards me. She opens her mouth, bearing rows and rows of teeth at me. I feel Abigail press into my side and the vision disappears. But then, just then, I spot Morgan running towards us, Galadura in her arms, the real Morgan with the real Galadura. As they approach, I feel Galadura's thoughts collide with my own. She sends me an apology for the signal, conveying it in an instant everything that had happened. Then, she sends me a request, along with two words. I'm ready. Maddie, the lake! Even Evelyn turns around to see what Morgan was talking about. Then, without warning, Morgan turns and dashes into the pond, with Galadura still in her arms, submerging them both in the water as they vanish from sight. Tara skids to a stop, watching the spot where they had disappeared as the shimmering surface of the pond scatters moonlight. I understand. For what I hope is the last time, I draw up the magic that the fairies have entrusted me with. I coax it out of every nook and cranny of the forest, from the solid ground under our feet to the highest reaches of the tallest trees. I implore the forest to help me. Within that instant, I can feel its response. From the fairies hidden just out of sight, from the forest spirit waiting forlornly in its grove, from Alma's mother, who's her child taken from her unfairly, from Morgan and Galadura putting their fates in my hands, from the very moon itself. I move with the easy confidence of doing something that I know I was born to do. All of my short time as Fairy Queen has been building me up to this moment. I step forward, bolstered with energy and no longer afraid. I feel out the gaping hole where Evelyn's mind should be, the black, vile reminder of the existence she forsook, and the lives that she stole. I find her like a roach, skittering and afraid, and I bind her. I'm sure that it sears her like fire. She shudders and shivers and quakes on the moonlight. Moon sickness. And after that, I let go. I release it all the magic and the power that was given to me. I let it flow out of my fingertips on its way back to its rightful owner. I can see the arc of the magic as it descends into the lake, where I know Galadura is waiting for it. Then, as the last vestiges of it leave my body, and the vision of it disappears, and the warmth of the moonlight vanishes, leaving me cold, the thousands of voices and consciousnesses, man, that's a hard word, quiet and then go still, leaving me all alone in my own head once more. My dress returns to its proper form as just a jacket, and the flowers wither and shrivel away into non-existence, not death. The crown of my head crumbles to dust, brushing past my ears before it's blown away. At the same time, Morgan resurfaces and swims to the shore where Tara's waiting for her. The moonlight is endlessly refracted through the water. Where it shimmers and sparkles beneath the surface, I can see her. Galadura crests back through the surface, her true form restored as she's accepted the mantle of Fairy Queen once again. A shining dress of color of freshborn snow adorns her, glistening as brightly as the stars overhead. Water streams down her in little rivulets, some turning to ice or frost on the way. Look at Galadura, guys! Holy crap! She's breathtaking. My dress was pretty, but it didn't suit me nearly the same way the role of Fairy Queen seems to suit her. She's pretty, but I disagree. Anyway, I realize that's biased, but I don't care. Even Evelyn is speechless. Galadura closes her eyes for just a moment. Her breathing slows almost imperceptibly, but just enough that I involuntarily step backwards. Her movements mirror the ones I performed just moments ago. Galadura's stance is more experienced, more graceful, and I recognize it. She's calling upon the forest magic. Then she raises one hand high. The moon seems to glimmer at her fingertips. In one swift motion, she slices downward, moonlight trailing behind her. It pierces Evelyn like a spear, fatal and true. Her whole body convulses as her moon sickness wreaks its terrible havoc on her. Her flesh bubbles and rolls as it tries to escape the dying spirit within. It's a gruesome sight, and I look away, turning instead to Abigail. She holds me tightly. As I watch Galadura approach the shore, I can hear the buzzing of the fairies just out of sight as they start to return to greet their queen. I don't even have to be connected to the forest to know that they're rejoicing. It's over. We've won. I stand there on the shore, hardly daring to move. I keep expecting Evelyn to reappear, more powerful and furious, or worse, for all this to be an illusion as well. But it isn't. Not a trace of Evelyn remains, neither body nor soul. Galadura stands on the ground where she last was. The Fairy Queen's eyes are closed in mourning. Not over losing Evelyn, of course, but over losing the fairy she had once been. I look down at myself, at my regular clothes once more, at my fresh flesh and blood body. I shiver a little in the breeze. It's a miraculous feeling. Then I turn and pull Abigail towards me. As we wrap our arms around each other in the biggest hug imaginable, neither of us say anything. We don't have to. From the side of the lake, Tara and Morgan approach us. Tara's limping, leaning on Morgan for support. They both look a little bruised, but not too badly off. Abigail and I walk over to meet them. You did it, huh? You really did it. Yeah, we did. It's still sinking in. Morgan, Tara, you both alright? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good too. Messed up my ankle when we got here, but it's nothing too bad. And your head. Hey now, I already said not to worry about that one. For better or for worse, it nearly is impossible to face Tara. She could have died several times within the last half hour, but here she is cracking jokes. I really admire that about her. You sure you're alright, Morgan? You kinda just jumped into a lake, and it was totally badass. Yeah, I'm positive. Thank you for worrying about me, though. That's what family's for. The two of them exchange a smile. As they do, I look up to the sky once again, and just for a moment I close my eyes. In my head, I offer a word of thanks to the forest for its protection and for everything it did for me. A chilly breeze blows in response. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, kids. A loud buzzing fills the air, and we watch the swarm of fairies as they rush toward us from the trees. I step back to stand beside my friends as the fairies arrive, joyously, fluttering above Galadura's head, A bright smile illuminates her face as her people welcome her home. They don't speak, their need for human language now gone, they don't acknowledge me at all. I strain to try to spot Hey, Frio, or Anon, but I can't. I'm sure they're there amongst the rest of the hive, but they don't pay me any mind at all. Maybe that's for the best. So this is really cool. She and Morgan are both watching, somewhat awestruck. When we get home, Mads, you're gonna write an autobiography. Either that or the best fantasy novel ever. I'm sure you could make millions off the book deal. I wrap my arm around Abigail. I'm good. I got everything I need right here. Abigail grins, putting her arm around me in turn. Tara groans and makes an exaggerated gagging noise. Okay, if you're gonna be that sappy all the time, then Morgan interrupts her, whatever the consequences will be, by leaning forward and kissing Tara on the lips. Sorry, I'm all stuttery. That shuts her up fast. Then we'll just have to outdo him, right? For maybe the second or third time ever, Tara looks like she doesn't know what to say, but in a good way. As we all laugh, Galadura approaches us, the rest of the fairies forming a cloud over her head. So, it's over. There isn't much to be done. The forest will need time to heal and recover. It'll take years, but it'll happen. Thank you, all of you. Mere words cannot express how grateful I am, how grateful the forest is, especially to you, Morgan and Abigail. Your family has suffered so much over the years. That's right, Galadura was there with Morgan throughout everything. She's the only one who can even come close to really understanding what Morgan's been through. It's over now, though. Just like the forest, it'll take time to heal and recover. But we'll be okay. I know you will. Galadura faces away from me, looking out towards the forest at large and towards the waiting cluster of fairies, her domain, and her people. What about the folks back in Eisenfeld? What'll happen to them? I imagine they'll recover from the glamour rather quickly. Wouldn't be surprised if they don't even remember Evelyn's existence. There might be some difficulties. They figure out who will manage their affairs. She turns back to us now, smiling. In particular, she looks at Morgan. But I don't imagine any of you will be around to concern yourselves with that. Right. At the same time, Morgan and Tara reach for each other's hands. They smile at each other, meeting halfway. And you, Abigail, are you looking forward to leaving? Certainly. I've heard so much of the rest of the world from Madison and from Tara already that I can't wait to see it myself. Although I'm a little nervous about, what are they called? Airplanes. Yes, those. I do hope they're safe. She looks at me for support and I put my arm around her. It'll be fine. I promise. She'll have a lot to get used to in the modern world, but it seems like she's just as excited to experience as I am to show it to her. Even Morgan will have some acclimating to do after spending her whole life with Eisenfeld's limited amenities. It's fine though, as Morgan mentioned, we have so much time. The Fairy Queen smiles at us again. I see. If you don't mind, I'd like to show you just one last bit of magic, something long overdue. The four of us look at each other, they then nod in assent. Lead the way. Galadura takes us around the pond to the far side, right to the boundary of bare ground and covered snow. She kneels down, scraping together a mound in her hands, while the rest of the fairies watch from above in revered silence, their usual keening muted for now. The ball of snow in Galadura's hands is shaped and smoothed out as she alternates between scraping and patting it. Soon I realize the form it's taking, that of one of the fairies. Galadura then gathers several more materials from the forest debris, pine needles, a soggy leaf, a couple of tiny pebbles, and even more objects that I can't see. She arranges the pebbles on her snow sculpture to form a face, then she deftly weaves together a few sodden pine needles and ties them behind the back of the head. I realize that they're supposed to be glasses or an imitation of them. Madison, it's you! As Galadura wraps the leaf around the snow fairy, I realize that Abigail's right. It's not an exact replica, of course, but it's definitely supposed to be me. Once it's complete, Galadura lifts the tiny model from the ground, holding it in her cupped hands like a treasure. For a second, I think she's gonna hand it to me, but she walks right past and hands it to the shore of the pond. With her back to us, she lifts her arms, holding the tiny sculpture aloft. The moonlight shines down on her, illuminating the snow in her hands. The air around them starts to glimmer and sparkle, the light of the moon refracting off of nothing. Galadura's whole body glows with a soft white aura that's brightest in her hands. Then the little fairy in her hands flutters to life and flies into the air. After just 2 beats of its fragile wings, it turns and joins the rest of the swarm, where it's immediately accepted into the fold. The Fairy Queen turns back to face us, the sparkling magic now calm once more. A tribute to you in your honor. That was the first birth of our people in over a century, ever since I was first bound. Although through this little one, your memory will live on in these woods. Thank you. It's an honor, really. It's a bit strange of me that she chose me as the model rather than Morgan, whom she knows much better, or Abigail, who's far more intimately connected with the forest. After all, it's not like I did a whole lot as Fairy Queen. Still, the gesture is touching. I watch the little fairy for as long as I can, until it's assimilated into the rest and impossible to keep track of. Tara's positively green with envy. Before you leave tomorrow, will you join me for a final time? We've one last farewell to make. She looks at Abigail as she says it. Abigail's eyes widen and then she nods. We've got a late train, so that's easy to do. You've already got us tickets home? Hell yeah! One of us has to be on top of things around here. She smirks and I playfully smack her shoulder. Going home. Just like there's a thought of it is exciting. The prospect of returning to our normal lives without having to fight for them. By now it feels like just kind of like a dream. But for once, one that I know will come true. Hell yeah. Nice, dude. Once again, I wake up before Abigail does. The bed isn't even close to big enough for both of us, but I don't stop us from getting a full night's sleep. She lays nestled against my side, breathing peacefully, while I contemplate the sunlight streaming in. No matter where Tara and I travel to, it's always looking forward to going home. That's especially true now. It feels weird to imagine that this time tomorrow I'll be on a plane over the sea. We still have a long day ahead of us though. Our train doesn't depart until the afternoon. Then it's hours to the city. At least it'll be much more cheerful than our trip out here when it was just Tara and me. For as long as I can, I remain in bed, cuddling close with Abigail. It's nice to be able to turn off my brain and relax. No deadlines, no threats, no flickering in and out of existence. Peace. It isn't too long before her eyes flutter and drift open. She yawns, cuddling even closer to me. Without moving the rest of my body, I turn my head to face her and our nose brush together. Good morning. Good morning, Madison. Or she's like, how'd you sleep? It was the best sleep I've had in 200 years. She smirks and I laugh too. That joke never gets old. Fitting. Abigail moves in even closer, draping herself across my arm and shoulder like a cat. Her hair falls across my face, and I blow it away with a playful puff of air. What about you? Better than I have in months. It's true, we both passed out pretty quickly after getting back to the cabin last night. Even the excitement of the day's events couldn't keep us up. Well, will our bed in America be this comfortable? Oh, it's even better. Though BT, our cat, really likes to sleep there, so you might have to fight him for the spot. BT will have to find somewhere new to sleep because I don't want to share you. She shoos away an imaginary cat with one hand. I love her. Maybe he's like Morgan. She's got to be used to having cats around by now. Galadura counts, technically. Our home will be so lively, won't it? Absolutely. I can't wait. Me neither. They're so cute, dude. They're so cute. Can't even. The sounds and smells of Morgan and Tara preparing breakfast wafting through the bedroom eventually stir us back into gear. I pack what little clothes I brought while Abigail gets dressed. Good morning. Meowdy, y'all. Don't ever say that again. But good morning. Hello, what are we eating today? Wow, don't waste any time, huh? I've wasted a lot of time not eating, and I intend to fully make up for it. You're in luck, because I brought all the food I had at home, so there's plenty. She sets a platter of pastries on the table, and Abigail immediately dual-wheels a blueberry muffin and an everything bagel. Wait, you already went all the way to town and back and made breakfast? Yes. Isn't she amazing? Morgan blushes. This might be the first time I've witnessed that. She is. says with her mouth full. Crumbs litter the table, the aftermath of Abigail's enthusiastic eating. I've never met someone so delighted just to be eating food. Well, it's been 200 years. Have as much as you'd like. I'll bring the rest with us on the train. I'm not sure we're going to have to worry about leftovers. Abigail grins in agreement. After we finish, I help take back all the dishes back to the kitchen and set them by the sink. Morgan starts washing them right away. I'm not sure who I'm washing these for, but it feels wrong just to leave them dirty. What'll happen to this place when we're gone? She shrugs. I'll leave the key in my shop. I don't really care beyond that. It's nice not to have to. She wipes the plates dry with a towel, and when we go back into the living room, the rest of the cabin is already immaculate. The blankets are folded, the furniture is realigned, everything is in its place. I'd even say it's tidier than the day we arrived. I give my bedroom a final once-over, looking for anything I may have left behind. Of course, there isn't anything. I shut the door behind me. The action has a sense of finality to it. Everyone else is waiting for me in the living room. So we're going out into the woods one last time, right? Yes, I need to say goodbye to a friend. Whoa, you know someone else in the forest? Is it Elvis? You're never gonna let that go, are you? Who's Elvis? Don't worry about it, Tara's just being dumb. Aren't I always? You've got me there. Anyway, you'll see when we arrive. I don't want to spoil the surprise, plus I want Abigail to be able to share a peaceful farewell. Especially remembering what she told me before about the Fairy Queen and the Forest Spirit. We head outside and into the forest. For the first time since we got to Eisenfeld, it's not that cold out. In fact, it's even a bit warm. I wonder if that's coincidence, or if it has something to do with Evelyn being gone. Neither would surprise me. We haven't gone very far when Galadura suddenly appears, popping into sight just a few feet away. Her arrival is silent. No smoke, no sound, or anything like that. Just 1 second it's empty, the next she's there. Good morning. Morgan and Tara both flinch at her sudden arrival, but Abigail and I are unaffected. Well, Abigail and Maddie had more fantasy, magic-y experiences, so it's probably a lot less startling for them. I've been waiting for you. I can feel the four of you. I felt the four of you into the forest. That's awesome. So your fairy sense started tingling? Galadura tilts her head, perplexed. Tara really needs to learn her audience out here. Anyway, if you're prepared, I'll take you all the rest of the way. It would take far too long to walk. The five of us join hands. Galadura is standing between Morgan and me. Her hands are cold, but not unpleasantly so. In the time it takes for me to blink, we've teleported to the grove of ancestral trees. Even without being one with the forest, the magic in the place is palpable. It soaks into the earth and trees, and the air is sweet. We approach the ancestral grove with careful, quiet steps. The destruction that Evelyn caused is more prevalent here. Streaks of ash still blemish the surrounding trees, painful reminders of the one she slew. Just ahead, I can see the clearing where I know the forest spirit will be. Galadura steps aside, gesturing for Abigail and I to continue on. We do. Then the spirit comes into view. I can hear Tara gasp from behind me. The spirit looks even weaker than the last time I saw it. If previously it looked old, now it looks downright ancient. Its once terrifying eyes have lost their luster. Its wooden body is even more knotted and warped than before, and it's so small. Is this your friend? Without turning around, Abigail nods. For all these years we've been together, it was the forest spirit who saved my soul when Evelyn came from my body. Abigail reaches out a hand, going to the forest spirit's side. Like every time before, I also keep my distance. Abigail, I know. It's time, isn't it? Galadura nods. The forest spirit peers down at the girl by its side. I'm sure that it loves her back. Abigail takes a single step backwards, and Galadura moves to its side. Then the Fairy Queen raises a palm and presses it against the forest spirit. The sensation of magic gathering is familiar to me by now, even though this time it's flowing past me, not into me. Galadura calls life from the surrounding trees, here where life is more vibrant. The ground ripples under her feet, surging with unseen power. The sunlight beaming onto us feels familiar. It feels warmer. Everything is gloriously, happily alive. The forest spirit's twisted form starts to change and morph, not in a painful way like how Evelyn died, but much more peaceful. Jagged shards of wood soften and retract. Its two legs start to stitch themselves together, just one solid trunk. Its arms stiffen, reaching outward and upwards, slowly regaining the colossal height that it once possessed. Roots reappear and bury themselves underground as the forest floor itself rises a little to accommodate. I remember now that Abigail mentioned before that one of the Fairy Queen's duties was to help the forest spirit pass on, and with Galadura missing for so long, it was impossible. I wonder how many decades or centuries this one had existed before meeting Abigail. No wonder all of the trees here have such vibrance. No wonder this is the center of life in the forest. Just like the process that made me Fairy Queen, there's little pomp and flair to the transformation, but instead it feels intimate and calm. While Galadura retracts her hand and the magic dissipates once more, everything is still and silent. Oh, look at that, guys. Abigail falls to her knees at the base of the newborn tree. The spirit's giant eye slowly slides down the trunk, a final magical motion until it's level with her face. Despite the tears in her eyes, Abigail manages a smile. Hello, old friend. Thank you for everything you've given me. Not just company, but another chance at life itself. I'll miss you. I really will. More than I'll miss anything else here. I'm sorry I wasn't around much lately, but I hope you know that I was very happy. Even when it was just us, even when there was no one else. She reaches up, touching her hand to the tree just like the Fairy Queen did, except it isn't a regal, powerful touch. It's delicate and soft. She presses her forehead against the tender bark, not bothering to wipe away the tears. And I hope that you know that I'll be even happier now. You don't have to worry about me. I'll be okay. Abigail remains there for a moment. The forest spirit's eye watches her as best it can for as long as it can. Slowly it goes dim, the red light fades to gray, and then the same plain brown as the rest of the tree. Within moments, it's indistinguishable from the rest of the forest. Abigail looks up and notices the change. She brushes her hand across the sightless eye, and then she rises to face Galadura. Thank you. I'm sure you made its life that much more wonderful as well. I hope so. Tara, do we still have time to board our train? A couple hours, yeah. If it's no trouble, I'd like to return to the Fairy Grove one final time. I'd be happy to take you. Tara and Morgan nod in approval. They're both been keeping pretty quiet, although that's only unusual for Tara. Still, I'm glad that she's being considerate of the solemn mood. Once more, Galadura takes our hands and teleports us to the fairy clearing. There's no evidence here of what took place last night. While there aren't any deer this time, a few birds are in their nests, all's right in the grove. It's a little strange to not instantly feel the presence of the fairies in my mind. I'm sure they're close by, but like usual, they keep their distance. As soon as we regain our balance, Abigail wordlessly starts to head for the shore. Tara taps me on the shoulder. Hey, me and Morgan are going to take a walk. I'll give you two a couple of minutes. Sure, thanks. The two of them set off a leisurely pace around the water. Galadura goes with them. She and Morgan will surely want to say goodbye as well. Abigail's already down by the water, and I move to join her. Her hand grasps mine, and she squeezes tightly. She breathes in deeply. I do the same. The air is crisp but refreshing. This place has been so special to the both of us since that I'm a little bit sad to leave it behind as well. I know that nothing compared to how Abigail must feel. I don't speak. I'm sure that in her heart, Abigail's saying her final goodbyes to this place. I'll let her be the first to speak. We stand there in comfortable silence for a while, hand in hand. I said before that I had to come to love the forest as much as I possibly could, but now, when we're about to leave, I realize I was wrong. Because I love it more now than I ever did before. It wasn't that I want to stay. It isn't that I want to stay, but rather that I never had the opportunity to miss it, and now, on the eve of my departure, I'm sure that I will. I think there's a certain kind of love that comes from having something, but there's a different kind of love that can only come from losing it. To my surprise, she isn't crying. In the past, when we talked like this, it's been accompanied by tears, both joyful and sad. But now, when I look over at Abigail, she looks determined to be happy. Just because you leave something behind doesn't mean you've lost it. It just means that you learn to love it in a different way. When you look back on something, it makes you smile. That counts too. Love isn't just about moving forward. Sometimes it's about looking back. This place will always be special to you and to me in different ways. What if I forget? What if someday I can't look back and remember what it looks like? What if I can't remember how it felt the first time we kissed? What if I forget how happy I am right now? Even if you forget, you'll still carry it with you. It's still a part of who you are. It made you the person you are today. The memories aren't what's important. What's important is how they help you grow. We go quiet again after that. I surprised even myself with those words. Yeah, Maddie, that was downright profound. When I look back 5 or 10 or even 50 years from now, I wonder how I'll feel about this time in my life. Not just the forest and all the magical things that have happened, but everything that led up to it. Working on Terra Normal and all that we accomplished there, all the dreams that I put aside for it, and the new ones that it instilled in me. I still have a lot to figure out and feelings to sort through, but now the future doesn't seem too ominous and scary. In fact, I'm looking forward to it. From behind us, I can hear the sounds of Morgan and Tara approaching once more from their walk. I squeeze Abigail's hand and she starts to lead me back towards our friends. Come on, let's go home. All aboard! The train conductor yells out his iconic line, and there's a loud hiss as the train begins to move. It feels like something out of an old-timey film, but I suppose that's more than appropriate for how our journey has gone so far. Beside me, Abigail sits with a white-knuckled death grip on the seats, alternating between staring out the window and making sure the ground is still beneath her. Across from me, Tara and Morgan sprawl across each other, all pretenses of not a couple abandoned. As for me, I drink it all in with a smile on my face. Every one of us deserves this. We pull out of the station, and I gaze out the window alongside Abigail. On the way in, I remember how scary and foreboding the forest looked, and how it felt like entering another world. Now on the way out, I certainly won't miss it, but I'm not afraid anymore. I wonder if Gillidur is watching us somewhere out there. Hey Mads, of course Tara is the one to break the silence. How proud do you think my folks will be that I finally got around to adding forged government documents to my criminal record? I just have to laugh. I can't even be mad at her for this one, because there's no way we're getting Abigail into the country otherwise. I'm not sure how she did it. Maybe that's a brand of magic of her own. What will be the first thing we do when we get back? Asked Abigail. Oh, you know, we're gonna party. From where her head rests on Morgan's lap, Tara still manages to strike a pose. We've got New Year's coming up, plus Maddie's birthday is the day before. Both Abigail and Morgan's eyes widen. I try to brush it off. Every year, Tara swears we're gonna go all out for my birthday. Every year, she takes like 2 drinks and passes out, or falls out of her bar stool, whichever comes first. Morgan, Abby, both of you drink, right? I do. It's been quite a long time since I have, of course, but I'm certainly partial to it. You both know what that means, right? Tara's question is met with 3 blank stares. Drinking contest! Oh god, Tara, not again. Come on, you're okay with Morgan and Abby watching you drunkenly sing MCR, right? No, I am not okay. While Tara launches into an extremely exaggerated version of my last birthday party for Morgan and Abigail's benefit, I find myself looking out the window, watching the world go by once again. There's so much I'm looking forward to when we get home. Teaching Abigail about the world, going back to school, also do my best to help Morgan take over the duties of the show. Maybe I'll even come back to guest star in an episode or 2. For so long, I wanted the world to slow down just a little bit so I could catch up, figure things out. Figure things out. It says that twice, so I'm gonna ignore that. If there's one thing that being dead and hearing Abigail's stories taught me, it's that I don't want to look back later with regret. Just like I told her at the lake, we have a lot of good memories left to create. I intend to savor every minute of them. I listen to the conversation, laughing along even while I daydream about the future. My heart is happy here, even if my head's in the clouds right now. Abigail leans into my side, giggling at some joke whose punchline I missed, but I smile all the same. She'll make an optimist out of me yet. If there's one thing we have now, it's time. And as for everything else, well, I'm sure the world won't mind if I keep it waiting just a bit longer. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about! That's awesome! That is so awesome! I am complete. That is the happy ending to Heart of the Woods, everybody. The other 2 endings, I've only seen one of them. One of them, I know Maddie dies, and that's the ending I got when I did it, and that was depressing as all hell. And so obviously I went back and I got the good ending, and that's what we got. So that's the only one you'll be seeing, because I don't feel an overwhelming need to show you a bad ending. Anyway, an amazing game. It's 10 out of 10, and as you could probably tell, I do love it more than I loved Highway Blossoms, and I loved Highway Blossoms, and so it's just fantastic. It was so good. And really, it hits all of the notches of everything I love. There was romance, there was worry and drama, but they didn't overcook it. They didn't torture you with it. Highway Blossoms had an extended period of torturing you with the drama. And that was obvious, and that's something that I dislike. That's the reason that that's one of the reasons I like Heart of the Woods more, is because there was drama, but there wasn't a giant crash, and it wasn't torturous, and I loved that. The music in this game is amazing, the mood, the fantasy, and really the heart of what is the main fuel of my channel is twofold. Really, it is that I love anything with a good story, and I love anything that has a message that you can take with you. And really, I think that is like the important driving point here. Is that obviously this game had a great story, and it had messages you could take with you, and so really that's what's so cool. So obviously these are all voices we didn't hear because I muted all the voice acting because they're one of the voice actors. I don't like her voice. I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't want anyone to. Just because I like anonymity. I'm not going to tell you which one I don't like, but there's a voice in the pool of voice actors that I dislike how she voices the character whom I don't like the voice of. So it was way easier for me to read it. Anyway, regardless though, and so really that's what makes that's the type of stuff that I love the most on my channel. Something with a story and something with a message that you can take with you. And this game certainly had that in spades. And there was so much good stuff about it. It was amazing. And you can totally, absolutely expect more stuff like this. Something with a story, something with great messages, Yuri stuff, visual novels, anime things, all that stuff. Because this is comparatively, a new genre in my gaming collection that is all very rare for me. And so obviously, that there is lots of sections. No cryptids were harmed in the making of this game. Anyway, there are lots of little like genres and sections of gaming that I'm not super experienced in that I want to get experienced in. Visual novels is one of them. Like horror games is something else I don't play a lot of that I want to. Something else that you probably can expect more of are blind playthroughs. Most likely you can hang on. We will read this in a moment. Is that you can expect more blind playthroughs. I feel like that my fear of not doing something like my fear of doing something blind is diminished a little bit since my hiatus. Honestly, there's lots of things that I think would be more fun blind, and so you could probably expect an increase in blind playthroughs because I just feel like it just seems less terrifying than it once did. There's still some stuff that if I know there's multiple endings, I'll probably play through it first. But there's other stuff where if I don't think there is, or if it's not complicated, then I'll just do it on the fly. So we'll just have to see. Anyway, Madison, look, there it is. Abigail reaches out the open window to point at the ocean sparkling in the summer sun. My heart pounds as I hear the pure joy in her voice. The instant the train pulls to a complete stop, she and Tara bolt for the door. Morgan grins at me and starts to follow him. I'm right behind her. Alright, gang, this is it. Smell that air, feel the ocean breeze, look at those crashing waves. I told you this place was awesome. Look at everybody, guys. Is your hearts not so happy right now? Anyway, she looks back at us to make sure we're all as overjoyed as she is. With all of her excitement, you'd think she was the one who had never seen a beach before. Her voice trails off as her head swivels around, still trying to take it all in. I silently step up behind her and take her hand. She doesn't look at me, but the small squeeze she gives my hand is all I need to know she appreciates it. Pretty incredible, huh? Wow, look, Morgan cut her hair. It looks good. I like it. Anyway, she closes her eyes and tilts her head up towards the sun, taking in the summer glow. It's better than I ever dared to imagine. For a moment, I'm reminded of the glow that surrounded her the first time we read together. That was the first time my heart stopped Was that the first time my heart stopped when I look at her? It's happened so often that I've lost count. By now, I've known her as a human for longer than I knew her as a ghost, but she's still got that same otherworldly beauty that she had back then. Thank you, Madison. Abigail looks back to me and smiles. For everything. I know the kiss is coming before Abigail even starts to move, and I'm more than ready for it. I wrap my arms around her and let her lips press against mine. Our bodies perfectly pressed together. You were worth the wait. And that's a lot, because she waited 200 plus years for you. We touch our foreheads together, fingers intertwined. There's no need to say anything else. For once, Tara waits for me to finish before interjecting, but the instant we separate, she's back to her boisterous self. You guys coming or what? Morgan puts her arm around Tara's shoulders as she waves us on. Not missing a beat, Tara pushes her long hair to the side so Morgan can kiss her cheek. Come on, I'll race you there. You're on. The two turned out to have a surprising amount in common. Whatever store of energy they both draw from, it seems to be infinite. Morgan and I go at a much more similar pace, although she's even more enthusiastic about going along with Tara's craziness. Love does that, I guess. You go ahead, babe. I'll catch up. Me too. My swimsuit definitely isn't built for sprinting. Abigail gives me a nod and another quick peck. Tara tries to do the same, but Morgan pulls her in for a full-on kiss. When she pulls away, Tara looks completely stunned. Better hurry, Abigail. Don't waste the head start. That's the first time I've ever seen a kiss used to give someone a tactical advantage. I can respect that. Abigail takes off running while Tara blinks away her daze before dashing off after her. No fair! Yes, it is. You have longer legs than me. Morgan and I are left in the dust, both chuckling at our overzealous partners. I doubt either of us expected someone so energetic to be such a perfect fit. We should probably go after him. Lead the way. We both take off behind our girlfriends, entering the water and pushing to their arms. I can barely feel the cold of the water as Abigail's warmth envelops me. And here I thought you were going to keep me waiting again. I lean in for a kiss for a second time, our lips pressing together in a deep, warm union. Don't you worry, Abigail. I'll always be right behind you. The smile she gives me puts the sunlight to shame. I know, Madison. I know. Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about. If that is not, like, the most heartwarming thing, then, like, what even is love? Am I right? So yeah, that was fantastic. That is the happy ending. That is the end to our finale, Heart of the Woods. It's an amazing game, and you can expect, like I said, more stuff, more blind playthroughs. I'm less scared of that now. More visual novels, more romances, more Yuri, more probably I'm gonna venture into horror eventually and stop being such a coward. Like there's so much good stuff coming and so much spicy content to come. This game is amazing. This was top of my to playlist as soon as I had the computer to do it, which of course we've done that now, and it was absolutely worth it. A very jaw-dropping visually and audio game. Very well made. So, as far as what's next, I don't know. Over the weekend, most likely, almost certainly, I will end up recording at least one video. What I will be doing, I do not know. I should stop being such a schlub and should probably record Saints Row 4. So we can actually work on finishing that. I don't know if I will, and we will have to see. There's lots of things that are on my radar, and now the sky is the limit. Now that we have a computer, now that I have a computer that'll do what I want, and my quality is so much better, so we have a lot more options now, so I'm going to have to decide what I want to end up doing. I have no idea what it will be, but be sure to stay tuned. Also, to drop you a line on par reviews. I am watching an anime that I have not reviewed before, and so I am watching it. When it's done, I will review it, and par reviews will return as soon as I'm done with the anime. So that is coming. Do not think I am not doing those anymore, because I absolutely will continue to do them, because I love them a great deal. And so I am watching an anime. It is 25 episodes, so it's a little bit longer, so it takes a while to get through, and plus time is limited. So I am working on it. It is coming. Anyway, and I think that's everything. So that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.